Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary pals, please give a warm welcome to our guests and friends on today's wonderful episode of Creative Recharge. Today's guests are Doll Ciso-Runo,
Hey.
Amy Shiny Knight, the ghost of Haley Haggerty, the ghost of Chandra Arthur.
At some point, they'll join us.
Tom, our technical producer, and yours truly, your host, Glory.
Yay! Woo! Ghost. I had to mute myself, otherwise I would ruin it.
No, you're welcome to cackle all the way through. We've got some folks that are going to try to join us a little later. They're not able to join us at the start. And, whenever they pop in is cool. We hope them the best. Traffic.
We support 99 to 5 people here. We support day job artists. So they will join us later.
Mm-hmm. So we made it. And we made it to another Monday. It's always, I'm always impressed, frankly. I say that, and that's when my internet quickly blipped. So, yes, we made it, but the internet's like, maybe not, no promises. Okay. So, how is everybody? How is everybody in the chat? And, of course, while we're here, go ahead and let me know your weather if you feel like it. I always love to hear about the weather.
Stormy weather where I live.
It's 73 degrees in our neck of the woods in South Mississippi. And I think it's just supposed to be a nice sunny day, actually. I don't think we're expecting any kind of rain or precipitation till the middle of the week.
Mm-hmm. It's 53 Fahrenheit at the moment where I am.
I appreciate your conversion for us.
Yes, I had to Google that one for a sec there.
I very much appreciate it because otherwise I would have been doing that for a moment and getting a little distracted. Before we get much further, let me go ahead and say hi in the chat. Barrett is here sitting in the waiting room waiting for therapy. Oh, I wish you were here with us too, honey. But, all the good wishes for the emotional growth. Hoping I can change days so I can get back into these chats. Oh, I hope so too, sweetie. We would love to see you. Aw, thank you, sweetie. Barrett says, hit the like button, friends. I mean, if you want to, we would absolutely love it.
Barrett was hosting a stream earlier for NaNoWriMo Rebels, and I was like, yes. My Wi-Fi betrayed me again, so I died in the middle of the stream, so that happened.
Barrett is such a lovely person. I can't wait to hang out with you again. Such a warm-hearted folk. Tom is in here in the chat doing double duty because he knows I like to say it. And also because it's Tom. Barrett's from his phone. Megan is here. Hello, sweetie. How are you?
Hi, Megan.
Laura is here. Hello. It's like I just saw you. So familiar. Fantastic. Nia is here. Hello. How goes all the nano? All the writing. A Ghoul Creates is here. Hello, sweetie. It's lovely to see you again. CB is here. Just dropped in to leave a like and say hi. I'm writing just now and need to focus. Absolutely. We hope that you get all the good words. All the good stuff. Let's see. Seeing if anyone else. I think that's
Keep going. Maggie's here. Spence is here.
Maggie's here. Maggie is here and letting us know the weather. It's 50 degrees Fahrenheit and windy in Colorado. Excellent. Yes, I do love to say duty. I mean, look, what is the point of adulthood if you can just enjoy all the things you loved as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was always fun.
Eating out of a tub of ice cream. That's true adulthood right there.
Right there when you're like, why bother with a bowl when I can just put a spoon to
I'm
this
not
thing?
sharing. It's all mine.
It's all mine. Yes, I love it. I love it. So many claps. Thank you. I love all the support here. Barrett says, Doll, love hearing your perspective. We'll catch what I miss on the replay. And Barrett just let us know it is 75 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny in his neck of the woods. Megan says it's cloudy and 64 degrees in her area. So
nice
that is awesome. A Ghoul Creates lets us know it's 69 here, so we can all enjoy that little nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And Spence is here. Hello. She says, hello, lovely dumplings. Hello, lovely dumpling back. Absolutely. The most flavorful of dumplings. Ah, yes. Barrett's like, Maggie, I need the cheesecake dip to warm me up. Oh. Tell me more about the cheesecake dip.
Yeah, there was some cheesecake something going on in Barrett's stream before my Wi-Fi killed me.
Oh, I definitely need y'all to fill me in later about that. Yes.
It was Maggie. Wasn't it Maggie's recipe? Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay. Now Carrie says, dropping by to say hi. I'll watch the replay. Got to take care of hubby and the tiny human who are still sick. I hope you all get to feeling 100% better soon. So there we are. Now, let me ask, would anybody, and it is entirely optional, would anyone like to do an intro for themselves?
Sure.
Sure. Amy, you'd like to? All right.
Sure.
Amy's like, it's not that I'd like to, but...
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, if you don't already know, I'm Amy, and I'm Shiny Knight on Twitch, where I stream running sprints and gaming. At the moment, I'm currently playing Crazy Autonomous Sims Let's Play, where she's doing her own thing, and Mass Effect Andromeda. And I'm also author_Amy on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm writing a cyberpunk book series.
Ooh, so exciting. Doll, do you feel up to an intro? Or
yeah, let's do it. Hello there,
Yeah.
humans. Hello there, humans. I am Del Cecil Bruno. I am a blind storyteller for introspective readers, mostly writing sci-fi, but I am a genre hopper, so I do whatever I want with my short stories. I do some poetry as well, and I have a new short story that I released this Halloween. It's on my Ko-fi and Patreon, whichever. You don't have to go to both. You just choose whatever you prefer, and my story is there for you to read it if you want to. Oh, there's an audio version as well, so... Yeah, I released short stories on Halloween or something.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, that was my I don't know. Oh, I'm working on YouTube video scripts as my NaNoWriMo project. That's my NaNoWriMo. I'm writing scripts for my YouTube channel because I want 2022 to be much better than whatever the crap was 2021 with my YouTube. I'm not streaming anymore, so oops. But okay, I'm working on it to come better than ever before to my channel, so stay tuned.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. Tom, would you like to do one, or are you pass? Nope, pass. All right. Well, hello. And if you don't realize it, you've wandered onto our channel. The channel is Glory Writes the Blues, and I'm Glory. So, yeah, there's that. And there's Tom, is my best friend and brother. And we do this show together. So we hope that you are going to have a good time. We talk about writing, writer-related things, and also anything else that, tickles us and our writer panel fancy. That's pretty much it, really. So this week we're talking about the idea of queer lit or queer as a genre. So it did not use, well, yeah, I say it did not, but it was always. It's always been unofficially sort of a genre in that it's sectioned off. We're going to talk about the pros, the cons, what we see now, what we hope for the future. That's what we're going to talk about in the show. And we hope that when we finish this show, that you will feel like you have a better understanding of queer as a genre and where you as a writer can fit more queer content into your stories, even your stories that you don't feel are specifically like queer as a genre, but perhaps you'd like to include more queer characters or even more queer specific situations in your stories. We want to encourage everybody. So that is what we're kind of hoping to talk about today. What actually will happen, I have no idea. You know what? It's a wild ride, y'all. I'm just going to tell you. I have no idea what's going on. But before I get much further, if you are having a good time, if you do feel like this has been a worthwhile time that you've spent with us, and we do hope you do, please consider giving a like, maybe subscribing if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, please be sure to ring that notification bell so that you'll be sure to get notifications anytime we post new content. there will be especially in 2022, we are planning there to be a bit more diverse content. So not just live streaming podcasts, but also some more fiction and all sorts of things. I mean, I don't want to give anything away yet, but be sure to ring that bell. And if you want to, we would absolutely love, if you know somebody who you'd love to watch this show, please be sure to share the link with them so they can hear about us. And without further ado, let me get out of this hot seat. All right. So the first tower, where we talk about what we like about this genre and including hot takes. Shall I get started, or are y'all already chomping at the bit? Okay.
Also, Barrett, you know why I'm saying this? Thank you so much. He knows why. He knows why.
If anybody ever watching this, even on the replay, is not already following Barrett, please be sure to. Barrett is such a treasure.
He's great.
He's so inspiring. Barrett has really pushed us to up our game in such a warm, loving way that I know that he will help everyone else as well in that way. So, okay. So here's the deal. There's this thing that libraries and bookstores have a tendency to do particularly the last 20 years. And that is to take books that they deem as being about queer characters and putting them in a section. Only that section keeps inching back to the very back corner of the bookstore or the library or someplace out of the way, dark, not well lit. And so there is an issue with first segregating out queer character or books with queer characters in them, segregating them apart from the mainstream books, and then shelving them in the dusty corner where nobody goes. And publishers do this as well and say it's queer lit, it's queer literature. Only what was supposed to be a genre that helps folks find more stories with queer characters and queer concerns, queer situations, or queer specific situations, such as found family or having problems with your family of origin and how you rise above it and move forward in your life. And just, how do you find love when your sexuality is in the minority? How do you do that? That's not that easy. And it has then essentially, what started off as a positive movement has made into a kind of a questionable issue. So what I love about it is when I was a youngin', when I was in middle school and high school, I had an inkling that kissing girls was not mainstream. And I knew plenty of boys who also were not interested in kissing girls, but they were interested in other behaviors. And I just wanted to know more about it because it wasn't something that I really felt free to talk about, even among my peers. And I know they felt the same way, that they didn't feel free to talk about it. Granted, I did grow up in the 90s in North Mississippi. So it was pretty rural. One of the things that I did in middle school and high school was I went to my libraries and I went looking for content about gay, bisexual, lesbian characters, whatever I could find. And because I was hoping to better understand these situations. Am I like this? I don't know. Is this just, it's a phase? I mean, you hate to hear that when you're a teenager. It's just a phase. It's just passing. But you don't know. You don't know. So, it's not like anybody's parents were taking, here's the gay community. I've taken you to the gay quarter of our town. Here, child, go learn. Nobody's doing that. Well, I mean, maybe you can now. But nobody was doing that way back in the day when little Glory was curious. And so I went looking through books. And I went reading anything that looked like the blurb was kind of coded for outsider or somebody with a different kind of romantic love interest in the hopes of finding queer content. Because it was not segregated back then. It was hidden wherever it was. It was very deeply hidden, deep within the books. And so it would have been really lovely if I had some easier way to find that. This is also back in the day before the card catalog system was in on the computer too. So there was no way to cross search. I know that things are easier now. But yeah, when you're young, when you're questioning, when you're isolated, even when you're not young. Let's say you're like 60 and you're realizing, hey, I like same-sex folks. What do? We go look for stories to see if we can relate, if like other character stories reflect our own experiences or thoughts. And I think that there's definitely a market for this. I think there's also a readership for it. And that's what I love about it. I wish it had been available when I was young. I'm glad it's still available now and that it's so much easier to find. Definitely as a public librarian, I had many people coming in and whisper, like, take me into the deep stacks of like, do you have anything for somebody who maybe is wondering that they don't like, holding hands with the opposite sex? And I'm like, yes.
Do you have something for someone who doesn't like anyone at all?
Yes, we did.
Because that's the other one. It's like,
yes,
so who's your crush? And I'm like,
right?
Yeah.
Right? The people who like, I don't want any kind of sexual content in my books.
Yeah, and then it's like, ooh, you're not normal, but
right?
You have
but
to like
something that doesn't label characters as frigid.
Oh yeah. Oh, maybe you just haven't found the right person yet.
Yes. And the answer is, why, yes, we do have books for all of that and more. Yeah. We've got books for everybody.
I like that.
And I always was amazed how many times I would get like pretty much whispered or dragged into the stacks. Excuse me, come over here. What? Can you not just tell me from here out in the main? Okay, fine. What is the thing? And people are earnest about that though, because they don't even know how to go look. They don't even necessarily know the words. I only learn about asexuality as like the current definition, under the queer umbrella or the queer spectrum. 5-6 years ago? Maybe 7? I knew about there are people who just don't have any sexual interest and there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing, it's just, they're fine. It's not like there are people who have no sexual interest and it has to do with trauma based, but not that. But people who just, there's nothing that's happened. They're just naturally this way. I knew that they existed. I had certainly met enough people like that growing up and, in adulthood, but I didn't know there was a word to describe it.
Yeah, same happened to me. And I'm asexual, and I didn't know there was a thing for a person like me until I was like 20-something. And the story is I was having a little bit of peer pressure from friends because I was in a new city, a new country. I moved, and the story of the foreigner who's wild and crazy, and I was not doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Much the same. I only learned about all of these differences in the last 5 years when it's come into a lot more of a mainstream kind of viewing. And then I'm kind of questioning, and I have only started questioning things in those last few years. And because it's, you've grown up without that, it makes it a lot more, complex. Whereas kids nowadays are kind of lucky in that sense that it's kind of, they're raised around it already. So
I'm glad.
Yeah, it's good for them.
It was a liberating, like I have queer friends and I have always had, which my family didn't like, but okay, I didn't give a about that. I had my queer friends, and sometimes some of them invited me to Pride, to the parade, and I wanted to go, but I didn't. I had the misconception that I didn't belong. And I was not sure because I didn't even want to date people in general. So it was a completely different problem. I was like, I wish I could go, but I am straight. But am I really straight? Or am I, what? I don't want to go to Pride until I'm sure of who I am, because otherwise I feel like a freaking hypocrite, even though I want to go to support my friends. I don't feel right. Like it's not my play. And then when I finally learned all that I needed to learn, and I came out unofficially, because I was like joking about being asexual without realizing it was a thing. And it turns out it is a thing.
Yeah.
So when I finally came out officially, like, you know what, it's not a joke. I am asexual. Then I went to Pride, and it was like the most liberating thing ever.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it was incredible. But I was 25.
Yeah. When I was a kid up in North Mississippi, there were a few books with like main or secondary gay male characters. And there was literally just one book that had a lesbian in it. And there were no books with any character that identified as bisexual. So I read all the books with the gay characters. I read the one book with the lesbian. My mother found me another book with several lesbians and a few bisexual women in it that actually took place at Ole Miss. It was a memoir. It was a really hilarious, fantastic, nuanced memoir. But if she hadn't found me, my mother hadn't found me that one book that was, I think, published before I was born.
Yep.
About this woman's experience as a grad student in Ole Miss in the like late 50s, and her sexual awakening, I guess, there a few years ago. I really was like, because when reading the books with the gay men and the one lesbian in the other book, I was like, well, that's not exactly me. So maybe I'm not any of that, but what am I then? And it really led to some real soul searching. That my mother had given me this book. My mother kind of had an inkling. And I was like, oh, okay, now I know. Okay. And that it's not that I was something new. Nope. Since the dawn of time. So it was very helpful. But again, just the one book, I still felt kind of like adrift identity-wise, but I mean, better than no book. But imagine all the other kids, because yeah, there definitely were not any books with ace characters in it when I was growing up. I never came across any, and I read a book a day pretty much from when I learned to read when I was 9. By the time I was 10 and a half, I learned to speed read, because speed reading is actually a great way to deal with dyslexia. And so I was reading a book a day at that point, and so I was voracious. At the time, when I was 16, 17, in Oxford, I had read every single nonfiction book in the Oxford Public Library. And I'd read most of the fiction ones. There were some that I just, like Stephen King. No, y'all, I need to sleep at night, so I did not read that. But, most of the non-scary, scary ones I'd read. Hello to Mama. And not being able to find any, like, different kinds of queer characters, it was too like, well, do I just not belong? Am I not allowed to go to Pride? Am I not allowed to hang out with them? They seem like a fun bunch.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I do think there's very much a point, a need for queer literature.
Oh, definitely. And I think it also changes depending on the supportive environment that you grew up with. It's good that your mother was suggesting those things. It's different. Like, for me, I wouldn't say that my parents are, like, they're not at all homophobic or anything, but there were instances I remember a specific thing saying, I stopped watching Buffy when, Willow kissed a girl. And that was kind of said to me as a kid. And so I just, as a kid, mine just didn't even bother. Because I had that kind of sense of very, I don't know, not as open to things as much. And so now things that have opened up in the world, I'm now questioning, and I'm kind of in that soul searching period where I'm just kind of confused, and I'm kind of just feeling out who I am, because you get confused when you're kind of forced into a way or whatever, a picture when you're younger, and you haven't had those opportunities to kind of make you question earlier. So I don't know. But I think also writing is a really good way, and especially that the reading and seeing it through the other characters and testing out that shell and seeing what fits you and getting a taste of the different perspectives and ways of thinking. I think even writing your own characters or reading other people's characters can really help to kind of go through your own thought process.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be that particular sexuality to write characters who are.
No.
But I will say for many years and years when I was working on fiction, I thought all my characters were heterosexual until I asked myself, why are they though? But are they?
Yeah, same.
And like really looking at my characters going, oh, no, it was already there. I'm just the clueless one. Like,
yeah, you knew, but the label wasn't there.
Like, I'm like, these characters are letting me know their sexuality before I was even consciously aware that I had written them that way, like in a different way than heterosexual.
Yeah.
So realizing like I had written ace characters and I had written, you know, bisexual or pansexual characters. I'd written demi characters and even possibly some non-binary characters. And I was like, oh, it's all there. I so kind of internalized that the world is heterosexual.
The moment that Tom told me, don't say he's straight because he's not, and I was like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's a discovery, isn't it? Like even as you're like, oh wait, hold on, I've written a queer character and didn't even realize it. But now that you know, other people are looking at it, realizing, oh yeah, no, it's real obvious.
And I came to my final conclusion of that particular character. No, he's not straight. He doesn't even know what the he is, because he has no time to even sit and think about those things. He's like, his life is just a mess. There's no time for this. So I'm not gonna claim he's ace, because that was never my intention. But he's gonna be one of those people who never knew.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought a Ghoul Creates had a good point about of like just be, you know, it can be a phase.
It can.
As you're trying to understand yourself, but it doesn't necessarily mean that oh no, you're still going to end up in a mainstream concept of gender or sexuality. You know, there are so many possibilities out there now.
Yes.
That, you know, are all fine. It's not that there's automatically something wrong, you know, with you. It's just, you know, who you are.
Yeah.
I love the idea of, you know, even people who do find out that maybe they are cis and heterosexual, but they explored it. They went on that journey to see, and they definitely were open and, you know, curious about their own sexuality, their own gender identity. I was like, honestly, I wish more people did it, you know, to go on that journey rather than not realizing till much later in their life.
Definitely.
Oh, wait, this is why I'm never quite actually happy, because I'm not being my real self.
That's actually one of the good things about dating a lot of different people is it actually tells you more about yourself and what your expectations are for a relationship. Because if you don't know what your expectations are, how can you communicate those to anyone else so you can actually have a good, secure, solid relationship with someone?
Of course, if you're cool with dating, if that's what you want, then I agree. I'm gonna always say, remember, some people really just don't want to date. But
then in that
you already know what you want.
Exactly. You're finding out
that kind of relationship.
Yeah, you're finding out that you aren't the kind of person who wants to date by trying to explore that area.
But I mean, like, I have one friend who's she's actually the very first person I ever met. Well, I had known her before. I knew her when she was a child, actually, and she grew up. And when she was in her early 20s, she told me that she's asexual. Literally the same breath she introduced her girlfriend to me. And I was like,
well, she had a romantic
I'm going to need you to like sit me down sometime when you have time. We were at a sci-fi fantasy convention. I'm going to need you to like maybe explain this a little further, because you were the very first person I've ever met who said, hi, Glory. By the way, I want you to know I'm asexual. And I have questions. So she was like, no problem. And we made an appointment to talk about it later in the convention, because it was the beginning of the convention. So at the end of the convention, we had a conversation so I'd understand better. So like there's a whole spectrum even within any kind of sexuality or gender identity within it. And there's room for so many diverse stories.
And I still love her mom when, you then talk to her too, because, you're friends with her mom as well.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, did I understand this right? And her mom's like, yes, you heard her correctly. I'm still trying to understand this as well.
And so this was like 7 years ago.
I know she's happy. I know it works. That's all I care about.
It's like, okay. All right. And none of these are like invalidate any of the other labels. And her mother's like, exactly. I was like, I will take hers and your word for it because I don't understand. But that's fine. It's fine to not understand. And, one day I may put that in a story. Because if I experienced it, maybe other people experienced it. Uh-oh. Doll's internet.
Whoops.
Doll's dealing with gremlins, y'all. So, that is what I love about queer stories. Oh, she's back.
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, Doll, the gremlins got her. She'll be back if she can.
It's a stormy afternoon. So the Wi-Fi is going to do what it does.
Yeah, I think though in exploring who you are and who your characters are in writing and reading, though, I think I'm finding this nowadays because it's so in your face, and then you've got to watch out for the trend, and you could go on about companies doing it just for the trend or whatever, or the SJW side. That's a whole thing, but then that gets into your head as a writer, and you wonder, okay, is this really who they are, or am I why am I writing them as this, or why am I seeing them as this, or do I need to be more diverse, or is it not too crazy that it's kind of looking like it's trending kind of levels? Like, you're going to balance it naturally, but also not insult anyone, and it gets really kind of complicated at times. I find like there are some of my characters that I'm like, I know he's ace. I saw that before I knew the word to put on it, I always felt about him that he was never into sexual relationships. And because I was playing in my head, would he be in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And I just couldn't, but I could see him having a really strong emotional connection with this other lady. So I was like, he's only romantic. Yeah, I see that easy. But others, it's not necessarily as clear because I'm then having thoughts conflicting with, I'm concerned that this is on the trending kind of level of things. And you kind of want to make sure that you're writing it right. Yes. Properly for the character.
I agree with this because it's like I always say this, it's about empathy for your characters, for your readers, for yourself. It's like empathy is the key to writing great characters, no matter what kind of character you're writing. So what I try to do is I know this is horrible for marketing, don't be like me, but as I write my stories, I don't pay the slightest attention to whatever the trend is, and because I don't want anything from outside to interfere with how I'm trying to get to know the characters. So when I'm done with the process, then I can pay attention to whatever is happening outside. So I don't start blaming myself and blaming the outside world for influencing whatever it is that I'm writing at the time.
Yeah, I think also because there's a fear that can be involved in, like, am I doing it right kind of thing. I don't want to offend somebody when I publish this if I don't have enough diversity or whatever. But I think another thing is also not to overthink it. Is that just like in an instant, how do you feel the character is? And that's how they probably are, rather than if you get too much into the convoluted thoughts about it, then all of that other extra stuff's going to probably come in and, dirty the water effectively.
Chandra has joined us, so it's no longer the ghost of Chandra here.
Hi,
it's
Chandra.
Now the real corporal body of Chandra. Hello.
Hello. I got stuck at work, but I was like on my way here.
Yes. I introduced you as the ghost of Chandra. We still have the ghost of Haley with us because Haley will be joining us at a later time because we support our 9-to-5ers.
Yes.
But I just wanted to especially for our viewers who actually are mostly listening instead of viewing. wanted to mention Chandra is here, even if she's in quiet mode.
I did have a hot take that I told
Yes.
y'all about that I wrote down last
Would
time.
you like to bring up your hot take? I mean, this is
I
the hot
would.
take section.
Yes. So here's my hot take. And I would love to hear thoughts on this, but LGBTQ plus fiction as a genre is the new modern version of separate but equal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like as it gets segregated into the back of the library, back of the bookstore, the dusty section nobody goes into. It is but we have a section that we make in no way easy or inviting for people to go to.
Yeah.
In fact, when I started at the public library I worked at in the Deep South, when I started there in 2012, I worked at the most liberal branch of this library system. And it had a queer section that was mostly fiction in the nonfiction section, and it contained more than half of it was children's books that were literally diagonally the opposite end of where the children's book section was in the library.
Wow.
And high up, so no child could actually see it, even if they happened to wander to the very unpopular nonfiction section, all the way in the back, up high. And it's like, why do we have queer children's books in the, far away nonfiction section, at the end of the nonfiction section where no one goes, up top where children cannot reach?
Everybody knows that you catch the gay from books.
Right? And but thankfully we had a manager. I'm sorry, what?
Nonfiction wasn't popular? When was that?
Okay. I have mentioned that I worked in South Mississippi.
No, but I mean
stereotypes are stereotypes because there's a certain level of truth to them.
Oh, okay, but
so the only nonfiction section at our library that was popular was the cookbook section.
Okay.
Anyway, it was huge. But yeah, the 900s in nonfiction were definitely not the popular section, and it was over beyond that in like this area that you could not even see when you entered the library. You had to go around a labyrinthine section to find this little corner, which the light had not worked at in 5 years when I was hired in 2012. The overhead light in that section, and I'm like, do you think that this is why people don't like to go to this section? Because it's dark and foreboding, and also there's dust here?
To be honest, I would have been like, oh, sorry. Also, no one will bother me there. But
no. Like I used to hang out there when I was a patron before I became a librarian. I actually liked hanging out over there because it was nice and quiet and dark. But
somehow I would have ended up there because libraries, a
blind
person
didn't have a label. I did not. I thought that was like. It wasn't until I was a librarian and I'm like trying to shelve things going, what is this section here? It did not even have a label to say queer books or anything.
Imagine I just a blind person at a library.
I thought it was the section people are supposed to put their books so they don't misshelve it. Because, some libraries have a please do not reshelve books because y'all going to do it wrong. Please put any books that need to be reshelved over this section. I thought that's what it was and was like, hold up, why is all this here? I see a pattern. So thankfully, I will say this. In the library's credit, I went to my manager and said, I am uncomfortable with how this looks. It looks like you don't want anyone to check out these books. And I feel very conflicted about that. And he said, you make a good point. I had tried to raise it with the librarians before, and they were like, no, it's fine. But now that you have raised it, we can do something about it. Because also those other librarians had retired, and that's why I was hired. This is the truth. That's why I was hired. Glory was hired because these other librarians were retiring. So I'm just like, yes, they were older ladies. I'm just saying. So he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, okay. By the way, and before I forget, you're going to love this. Next to the queer section was the Spanish language section in this dark foreboding corner. I'm like, including the Spanish language children's books. And I'm like,
en serio?
This is like the Harry Potter in Spanish and Victor Hugo in Spanish. And I'm like,
Separate but
This
equal.
looks like
I was
queers
about-
and Spanish speakers are not welcome. And he's
I mean,
like,
Exactly.
also at that
What
point,
for?
not
What are
even
we gonna do?
equal anymore. You
I'm
don't
sorry.
even get a light.
you don't even get an overhead light. You don't get to like be able to read clearly, let alone if you are visually impaired. And so you're already having even the large print Spanish language and queer books were over there.
Yeah, that's
And it's so
dude,
dark. Yes, y'all,
dude.
like
That hurt. I mean, I'm ace.
yeah.
I'm half
Yeah.
Latina, and I am visually
So-
impaired. So,
Yes, and I was like, it looks like Spanish speakers and queers are not welcome here. And he was like, I see your point. What shall we do? You got a month to figure this out, and then make your proposal, and we will let me know if you need budget money. And yeah, and then it was honestly that easy where I figured out how are we going to reintegrate these books where people know they're available, because it turned out why these books. I found out all these books were about to be withdrawn because they had not been checked out in 3 years.
Which
And
was
our
their
library-
plan.
Our library's policy was, we are not an archiving library, we're a public library. So if a book is not checked out a single time in 3 years, it's withdrawn because space is limited.
wow.
We need to save space for the books that are being circulated.
This also explains why my library, I love a lot of things about my library, but their selection is kind of trash.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
that explains it because they're not archiving. Which is weird because it's a 5-story building. Where are
So-
the books?
This hurts.
It essentially it required somebody to be hired and on the inside to already be committed to this change for there to be change. So what ended up actually happening, I'll just, at least so y'all have an ending on this story, is in the children's book section, I made, again, because there was limited space, I did take apart a display space that wasn't really noticed much. It was in the back, and it was up a little bit higher than the like little kids would see. But I did make, before I fully integrated the books, I made a display, and they both got like nice, pretty big colors, bright signage
Nice.
to let people know that we had Spanish language books and books for all kinds of families, quote, diversity. And immediately parents started looking and checking these books out, or sitting there on the floor reading them to their kids, because that was really popular in our children's book section. As parents would just sit down with their kids on the floor and read a bunch of books while the parents figured out what actually to check out, to essentially
Nice.
read again. So that immediately started circulation. And then once it started checking out, I started getting a feel for the kind of people who probably were going to check out these books. So I had a better idea of where to then shelve them from then on, like to make their permanent homes, these books, these children's books. And for the adult ones, I got stickers. I got stickers that said Espanol, and another one that was like LGBT. That was like, it was a sticker that had a rainbow flag on it, and I stuck them on the top of the spines. So, and then we shelved them back in. I did another display, but then where they were permanently shelved, and it was just to let people know by the sticker, and that was very helpful as well. So that's actually what happened. I also put the stickers on the children's books, but because children's books have such thin spines, you can't really see it. That was why I actually tried to do displays. And then we did do a display in the adult section. It wasn't as popular though, because adults looking for adult fiction books usually go through the card catalog, or they're looking for popular books that are being promoted. They're not looking around at display spaces going, what shall I check out today?
This was part of my rant on, I think it's Likewise is what it was, is that the way that a lot of adult books are shelved makes it so that all you can find is what's already popular.
Yes. And it's a issue I brought up with pretty much any librarian in the state of Mississippi who would listen to me, and I hit stone walls the whole time. So what it was the library was originally established with so like, and I'm talking, when I say the library, I mean Dewey, Melville Dewey set up public libraries So not academic libraries, but public libraries. Very similarly to how grocery stores were set up like Piggly Wiggly back at the turn of the century, the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, where you go up to a clerk and you say what you want and they fetch you your canned goods or your books or whatever. But then eventually what happened was they took that barrier away, the clerk's desk, and they allowed people to shop freely, ditto for libraries. However, they still had it set up as a warehousing system rather than a display system. And libraries have never changed that aspect. And that was my issue that I tried to bring up with every librarian I ever met. And every one of them like, what's the problem? And I'm like, it's not appealing. It's a warehouse. It's like going, hey, don't you want to shop at a warehouse? Well, that's a lot more work. And not everybody wants to do work before they read a book. So why don't we set it up more with a lot more display space rather than it being, because like the books are all set up in the stacks, including in this background picture. If you look, every one of these bookshelving systems in library land is called a stack. And these stacks are set up as a warehousing space rather than as a display space. And that is my issue with how libraries are still designed. They're not set up to be conducive to people
visual question.
housing.
I have a visual question about this. So when you say warehouse style and stacks, you mean that people only see the spines,
right?
Instead of looking at more covers. That's what you mean, right?
Well, also, so patrons or readers have an issue with if you pull the book off of the shelf when they're set up spine to spine like this, then sometimes the books then shift and they're confused about where to put the book back. So they don't want to take the book out in order to read the back cover blurb or the inside cover blurb.
Right.
And again, all of this forebodes the reader from exploring books, but rather going in pointedly to find the one book they came for and not browsing any further. So again, grocery stores have changed their setup to make browsing more obvious. You know, have you noticed when you go to a grocery store how the boxes, the canned goods, there's a lot of space in the shelving in the back. They moved it all up front. You know, the cans, it'll be like 2 cans deep and 3 cans wide of one product. But then there's all this empty space in the shadows in the back of that shelf. They do that. They move it forward so it looks visually appealing when a person is scanning the shelves looking for the item they want, or also just trying to see what's there. How many different kinds of canned beans do you have? The answer is 128. But, you know, like, rather than what they used to do, which was they had it one level wide and then however many deep. So it might be 6 cans deep. It might be 20 boxes deep, whatever would fit into the depth of that shelf. Again, that was an old warehousing system rather than a display system to make things visually appealing. And that was my issue with how libraries are situated. Is they're not meant to make books look visually appealing so that people feel like I could just grab anything I want and look at it and then put it back. And it's not a question of, oh, wait, where do I put it? I know nobody came for my talk about how libraries are an antiquated system.
No, actually, I am enjoying this. And it makes blind person here, I can see colors.
Mm-hmm.
I can see colors, but like I cannot see the details on a cover.
Yeah.
Don't even ask me to read a title in a cover because no, not happening. But I can see colors. So I agree with you in the sense that if I can recognize more or less the color shades and the combination of colors in a cover from a book that I'm already looking, it will be a lot easier for me to spot that book at a library than say try to guess from the spines.
Right.
So I even though I cannot see very much, even that would be helpful for me.
Well,
yes.
Well, same. Even for me, who isn't vision impaired, I still look for the cover, the color, because I have the image in mind. I know exactly what book I'm going for. And so I just will visually scan it rather than having to read every single title.
Also, not always the spine is not always the same color as the front
No, that
cover.
drives me nuts.
So
Or you know how many
the
people
issue
would
of
come
the
into the library
spines-
going, I'm looking for a book that's red. I don't remember what the title is. Like, you have not narrowed it down like you think you have.
Well, it's not just that. It's also even with when you consider the spines are different, and you're looking for a book cover. There's also different book covers, and just because your library has one style of book cover doesn't mean that they don't have the other, which can be insanely frustrating.
Exactly.
And also font styles.
So with the video store that I had years before I ever worked at the library, we did not have anything stacked spine to spine. We had everything cover out all over the store, which meant we had to install more shelving everywhere. Even places where I'm like, it's too high, but like, so we had the children's stuff low, and then we had more adult stuff higher up, because like, it's like, I'm so sorry that this is not a, place that's positive to short people, but we almost had DVDs and VHS on the floor all the way up to above 6 feet, but it was like, at least you could see it, and if you need help, we'll help you get it. We had grabbers so we could get them down, but we had everything cover out, everything. Nothing was spine to spine, because you can't even read that. Are you kidding? I can't read it, so why would I assume anyone else can? I wanted it to be visually so you can just scan and look for a cover that jumps out at you. Or at least that you can grab, and there's now a wider section that oh, this DVD or VHS fits right here, rather than, again, as I said, the books shift, or the DVDs or VHS would then shift, and you're like, wait, which section does it go into? I'm not sure now.
To the point about the color of the covers as well, most people don't look for the specific design, they look for the color of the cover. And people do the same with apps on their phone. When you think about it, when you're scrolling through pages, you scroll pretty fast. It's not because you're reading, because you can't read that fast. And the text is so small, you definitely can't read that fast. But you're looking for the color, which is why I have all the apps on my phone organized by color. Because if I'm looking for Facebook, I know I'm looking for a blue app. There's no reason for me to have to flip through 8 pages looking for Facebook.
Well, that's why
let me tell you how upset I got when Netflix app changed their, what was it, from red to with black print to black with red print. I'm like, how dare you? I can't see you anymore, because what I'm looking for no longer exists.
It's the same Google, like the Google icons all look the same now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were quite upset about that, because they're not differentiated between each of them.
There's also
the colors are all the same, everything.
During Pride, when everyone's like, oh, we're gonna capitalize on your special month, and they change all of their app covers for Pride, I get so irritated. Because not only does it make things harder to find, it messes up my categorization based off of color. And it's like, now I have to move you off of my main screen so that when I look at my phone, it still looks pretty.
Yes. Ow. By the way, just for the record, I want you all to know, now, again, I'm not coming for anybody, but I just want you to know, librarians literally scream into the void together anytime they see shelves that were organized by color. Like, if you want to trigger any librarian on the planet, show them a bookshelf that's scheduled by color, that's arranged by color, and they will like, okay, I have to go right now to the bathroom so I can scream into a towel.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that happens with me.
No, but
as I said, everybody is free to do whatever you want at home, and I am not judging you. I promise you, I am not judging you. But I'm just letting you know a little something about librarians, as they all scream into each other's shoulders. Like, please let me just scream into your chest right now.
Well, my local secondhand store, like, I'm looking for a particular author or whatever. I'm going by the author name, the last name. I'm looking at all the spines. Like, that's how you usually go about it. But then my local secondhand store went and color organized it. I'm like,
How
You know
am
how
I
long it's going to take me to
find-
find the author?
Well, that's
in
why
this?
librarians want to scream. It's
Oh.
like, how will I find it? It is no longer functional.
This is
They need to look pretty,
so-
which again, there's nothing wrong with things being pretty. And I want you all to have pretty books at home, and you have pretty bookshelves at home. And then be sure to show your flex wall of your bookshelves like all the author tubers do. But I just letting you know that tip in case you're doing a librarian character of like, how do you trigger librarian glory? You organize a bookshelf by color instead of by author name or title. That's how you do
and
it.
categories, right? Like sections, and then within the section you do it alphabetically with author names. Is that how it is?
Like, there's several ways to actually organize libraries, even private libraries. So many smaller, even public libraries just have nonfiction. They don't even separate books by genre. And so it's just organized by author last name first.
Oh, okay.
And so it honestly just depends on the library and what is their organizing convention. But it's pretty flexible in that way. So it's like, yes, the larger libraries do organize them by genre to make them, again, easier for readers to find. But even that is debatable because some readers say, oh, I wouldn't have put this in, murder mystery section or mystery section. I would have put this in fantasy first, even though it's a murder mystery fantasy novel. Like Who Killed This Centaur? Okay. So it's just, it's fluid. Shall we say?
I understand the struggle because it's like, where the heck do I put my book? Is it sci-fi? Is it paranormal? Is it paranormal sci-fi? Where do I put this? I get it.
So just to go ahead and hurt everyone's feelings, I do have my shelves organized by color because I'm psychotic.
It is really okay for you to do whatever you want at home.
Yeah,
So
it's your
I
show.
expect librarians to be thrilled.
I think it's funny because the other day I saw this compilation from TikTok, and it was like just how normal people do it, how psychopaths do it, and pretty much everything on the list I did the same way that psychopaths do, and I was like, if this is wrong, I don't want to be normal. So
Do not. This is a reminder for you guys to never mess with Chandra.
Because she will ruin your bookshelves like a psychopath.
some of them, it was like nobody normal does that. It was like this guy eating Nutella, and he used a knife to spread it on whatever he was eating. And then instead of wiping the knife on the edge of the bread or whatever it was, he licked the knife.
No.
And then he licked it again. I'm like, that's nasty.
Yeah.
Nope. Anyone who licks a knife, like if you're gonna get something off a knife, you use your finger carefully, like, but nowhere near my mouth.
I mean, butter knife is one thing.
And it wasn't.
Oh, if it's a steak knife, not even just.
And
on the
to
plate.
be fair,
Can we just admit that probably we're all a little bit psycho about something?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
All of us.
Yes,
no
he did like it.
exception. No
All right,
exception.
I think we
All
need
of
to
us.
use that as a break point.
Okay, good point.
All
Yes,
of us
I something
have
for you all to
killed
think
fictional
about.
characters at some point. So all of us have a little bit of psychopathic because
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
no exceptions. We all have
Absolutely
killed.
common.
I'm like, do
fictional
you know
people.
how many Nutella knives I have licked in my lifetime? Like 30 years of Nutella knives now. And yes, the
Like-
steak knives. I'll lick Ginsu knives covered in Nutella, y'all. Like, yes.
It's just learning which direction you lick.
That is.
Oh my
now
God.
that
I
is
mean, I
true.
think that's an
It is.
important skill. Yeah, don't be a dumbass. Anyway,
It is time for us to take a
it is time for us to take a break. So,
Nutella break.
maybe a Nutella break might be
Oh.
great. Or, I'm just going to drink some of my chai over here. It's all good. But may I recommend that during our lovely bio break, maybe you consider hydrating. We are a hydrate or dihydrate kind of group. Maybe it might be a snack time or a little walkabout or, listen to the bladder. Just throwing that out there, people. Be good to your kidneys. You'll need them for later. Just a little spoiler. So, with that,
That's fair. That's fair.
oh, look, I'm going to tell you now, you will not miss your kidneys till they're gone. They are really, you think, oh, my kidneys, do they even do anything? And then one day they're not working right. And you're like, oh, crap, I'm in trouble. So be good to your kidneys, check the bladder, and we will see you all back here in approximately 10 minutes. nibbity-beep, nibbity-beep, nibbity-beep-beep-beep, boom. Come back, wherever you are. All right. We made it.
I meant to get
Yeah,
a
we're
snack, but it didn't work out that way.
Uh-oh.
No.
Piper had other plans.
Aw. Doggies come first. Yeah, I just want y'all to know Tom is the one who came up with this poll.
Oh, there's a poll.
There's a
Here's
poll.
a poll. All right, I will give you like literally another minute.
Someone's finger specifically. Why isn't there an option yes?
Tom wanted knife or spoon options, so I put someone's finger in. That is my only contribution to this poll.
Usually, I'll
Has
use a
everybody
knife,
filled out the poll?
but if I'm out of utensils, as happens, then I will use a spoon. I don't think I've ever used someone's finger.
Oh, what?
Y'all know I wrote an article once in the sex column at my university about food and bedroom activities. So anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
no.
yes. Oh,
No,
yes. It
no,
made
no.
international news. So have everybody had a chance to fill out the poll? We have 11 votes in.
What's the poll about?
How do you spread your jam?
No.
Knife, spoon, or someone's finger?
Knife.
Also,
I'm not on YouTube right now.
I just want to take
Okay.
this moment to say that there's a difference between marmalade, jam, jelly, and preserves.
Well, Tom didn't
Yeah.
want to make it weird by putting jelly because of Amy.
Oh, thank you. I did wonder about that. I just kind of went, oh, jam. Yeah, I know what that is. And then I went, hang on a second. Why is it jam? What's happened?
No, I mean, they're all different things.
They are.
Look it
That's
up.
true.
All right,
Or-
it's been 10 minutes on the poll, so I'm going to end the poll. So I hope everyone who's wanted to vote has had a chance to put their vote in. But yes, it looks like there was at least one person who voted to use someone's finger.
Oh, dear.
And what was it? Barrett was like, some of y'all nasty in here.
You mean versus the
I
Ghoul
mean-
Creates who's like, I have questions?
I
Yes.
mean, do you know who you're friends with?
Oh, no.
I have seen people, and they were not even young people like children. I have seen grown adults use their finger to scoop into, a jam or jelly jar. And let me tell you, I was like, I'm good, thank you. I don't need any.
Okay, for the simple reason that we all have fingernails. For the love of
How
all that
about
is
the
good and
skin?
holy.
Do you know what's crawling on your skin? Because I have a clue, and
I mean, even taking that out of the equation, under your fingernails is like one of the most. Just don't even think about it because you'll. But
Yes,
No.
please. Thank you.
Do you know, did you wonder how we have a pandemic?
Yeah.
Did
I
you
work in
wonder?
aged care. I'm
Yeah.
fully aware. Just
Yes.
no.
No, let me tell you, the person I once witnessed actually stick his finger in and then smear it on the bread, they now are a nurse.
Ugh.
I'm just going to leave that there for you all to think about, and I don't think they... yeah.
So I don't think this is anyone in this group. I'm gonna have to come back because I forgot about something.
Okay, no problem.
But
Absolutely.
I'll be back later.
Absolutely. And Chandra, and just for everyone else too, the club after party will be at the clubhouse voice chat in the Unicorn Council Discord server after the show.
Discord server.
Yes.
Yay.
So
I don't use Discord, but I'll try to jump in. Or maybe not. I don't know. We will see how. I'm laying down in bed because my back is like, Dal, stop. I don't want to be in a chair anymore.
exactly. Absolutely. Like, just get yourself comfy. That's what's
That does sound
important,
really good.
You know?
I'm in bed.
Yeah.
So you will hear the pop from the P's and B's from the microphone because I'm no longer sitting in that chair. No.
It doesn't sound like dramatically different, honestly.
Nope.
So
Okay, good.
I wouldn't worry about it, quite frankly.
Nice. So I'm just in bed because I want to chat, but yeah, my back is like nope. I've been sitting in that chair all day because I was writing that video script thingy, and also working on thumbnails and stuff. So no, enough. I'm an old woman. I am an old woman at my tender age of 30. So yeah, it's my blindness. It gives me really bad back posture. So after a while, it's like I'm done. Ah,
Okay, I've put a link to the Discord server in the chat if anyone needs it.
yay! I'll use it later.
Michael's just on a roll for knife jokes.
I know. Michael is
Oh,
always coming through with the jokes.
Chen?
Michael, yes, Michael CB Chen.
Yeah, oh, he's absolutely hilarious. You have to see him at Lisa Daly's chats. Ooh, it's fun. Lots of fun. Hey, Michael, didn't know you were there. Nice to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know who's in the chat because I'm in
Yeah,
bed.
because
Yeah. If you're on your phone, even it's really hard.
Yeah.
So
I'm no longer looking at a screen. So if anybody tells me anything in particular, like directly to me, I'm not looking at the chat.
Okay.
So here we are. We're at the start of the second hour. We're, Michael's killing me here. Me hands over a knife for the jam. Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. All right.
I just watched Crocodile Dundee 2 yesterday, 2 days ago.
It's not an accurate representation of how we are on day-to-day basis.
No. But then again, he was never an accurate representation. He was.
I thought he was supposed to be a lampoon of outdoorsy folk in Australia. He was always. I thought he was always supposed to be satire.
I mean,
sort of the equivalent of our redneck,
huh? Or rednecky.
Yeah, he is kind of. I'd say our redneck is kind of more like the druggies that are doing weird stuff, and we stay away from the Darklands kind of level of things.
Well,
I think,
like where we are definitely deep into redneck country. So redneck is like they get a redneck from farming and doing other outdoor work. Versus meth heads, we also have.
We've got the bogans.
And the meth heads are in the trailers making meth, which then explode. And in fact, at one point, the county I live in here in South Mississippi, this was like maybe 5-6 years ago, had the most meth labs per square mile than anywhere else in the country at the time.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't know if we still hold that record, but I was told this by a sheriff's deputy. So I believe him. Like as I said, the most interesting people come to the library, y'all. Let me tell you. Because it's bad when the sheriff's deputies are like, I'm here, I need to use your computer. And I'm like,
all right, Sheriff.
For what? Do you need help? Like, he's like, I gotta look up some statistics about meth labs. Can you help me? Like, sure. Why are you using our Wi-Fi though? But okay. And he's like, because the Wi-Fi at the sheriff's office is down. And I'm like, oh, Lord. How do you function? Everything's online there. And he's like, yeah, there's a big paperwork backlog right now. So, yeah. But yeah, that's actually how I found that out was I was helping him because he needed to file a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like looking up how many meth labs it's estimated, and all that. And I'm like, huh? He's like, yeah, we're real busy. We're real busy all the time. And I was like, I'm learning new things, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but here we are. We're in the second hour acknowledging problematic issues and shortcomings of the genre that is called QueerLit, or it's called LGBT genre, or whatever.
I have something.
Yeah, same.
Absolutely, go for
We
it.
need that rant stick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we need a banner that just says the rant stick?
I think so.
I feel like queer
Uh.
lit is a little bit like it's not enough for me to know if I really want to read the book,
right.
because I have a thing. I don't enjoy reading high fantasy.
Mhm.
It's too visual. It usually is very ableist, especially against the blind monster trope. I just have a prejudice against fantasy. I don't like it. I'm so sorry. I am
No, it makes
genuinely
sense, though.
sorry.
Makes
So
sense.
I have to overcome that prejudice before I can grab another fantasy book and genuinely enjoy it without that anxiety of, okay, so when is the blind monster coming and dying? You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. So queer lit is just like a wide term, and I don't know if it's going to be a mystery, if it's going to be sci-fi, if it's just going to be a contemporary romance, if it's going to be what. And I don't know if it's for ace people, gay people, bisexual people. I don't know if it's steamy. I'm ace. I don't want to read that. I don't, so it is like too broad of a term to categorize everybody and all the genres and everything under one single category. I don't even know if I want to read it or not. Is it really what I'm looking for, or is it something else? How do I know? It's kind of difficult, you know. It's so
Mhm.
I wish. I like that there is queer literature because we need it, and we need all the varieties of it, even the ones I don't want to read. We need it anyway. Um, so it is. I would like for like each genre and age category and everything to have their own little space for queer literature within that genre. So at least I know, hey, queer sci-fi with some ace protagonists, and the book cover is like purple and gray, and I'm like, yeah, that's ace. That I'm getting it. Thank you. You know, ace books always have those like the ace colors in it.
Mhm.
I love it. So we know it's for us. We grab it. Well, I want a little bit more of that instead of like putting everyone under the umbrella term into one little space over there, and good luck. If I end up with a
Mhm.
contemporary erotica, I'm like, no. That's not for me specifically. So we need a
Yes.
little bit more of we need something else than just, oh, there's the queer literature over there. It's like, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do
No.
really
Yeah.
like the use of the flag colors
Mhm.
for,
Mhm.
to kind of cue you in on
On
what's
which
going to
one
be
it
involved
is.
here.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. It's almost like a tag of what to expect within that. So it makes it a lot easier to try and locate what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Barrett's totally just going preach.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
stuff.
I'm so glad. Because I want to make it clear that even though I don't like steamy erotica romance, I mean, queer people need it, and some
Absolutely.
queer people
Yeah.
want it, and I'm all for it. I mean, we have a fellow author tuber here, Aphrodite Lee, who just released an erotica anthology, and I'm like, go for it, girl. I'm not gonna read it, but go for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, there is variety. The problem is when you try to stick all the variety together into some one single category. No.
Yeah, it's like
That's not working.
Megan's saying, like, she likes her books to be an ace as well, even though she's not ace.
Mhm.
Oh, well, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the idea of like ace stories that, because like it tends to be like very friendship based,
Mhm.
and if
Yeah.
anything, rather wholesome friendship stuff. And I'm like, oh, who doesn't love that? I love that. I
Well, that
want
was
some wholesome
originally 20
friendship
years
stuff.
ago why I was so into young adult, was because at that time, young adult meant they didn't use sexuality to solve problems. They
Mhm.
had to actually come up with other solutions, and it made for more, interesting stories than
Mm.
if I can just seduce this person, or if I can just happen to have, my girlfriend or wife do that. Like, no, show me how, in regular life, anyone can solve this problem, not just you in this particular situation with your looks. Or
Mhm.
like this. Yeah.
That's what I like
Yeah.
about middle grade
Yeah.
books
Yeah.
is they still do not solve it with a kiss or anything. And so it really, in my personal opinion, middle grade books tend to be better quality writing, or at least plotting, because you cannot solve it with a romance.
Yeah.
Right.
You cannot solve whatever the problems are. There's a dragon, there's a chosen, but whatever cannot be solved with a romance. And I love it. But it can be solved with friendship, which again, I love. And like, that is what I like about middle grade books. I mean,
or in the case of Dal, there is a friendship that cannot be. I'm giving you the romantic cookie and then I'm snatching it away from you because Dal. Because Dal, at least I'm honest with my readers. I'm going to tease you into, ooh, maybe they are going to get together. Nope. Nope. Don't get too attached to that idea because it's not happening.
And it goes right what you know.
Even if I make a second book in the series, don't get too attached. You've been warned.
Even if the book's not designed or meant to be like no romance at all, like my series has romances in it because that's how some of the characters feel. Though I have one of my main characters who is ace, but he's fine with a romantic relationship. He's just not into the sexual side. And I've got in my first book, I know breadcrumbs, but I've got two main characters. I've got the female main character and I've got the male main character. He's the second main character, right? There is no sexual stuff between them whatsoever. There was never meant to be. I don't kiss at the end. They just become really good friends. They're like brother and sister.
Yes.
He's interested in another girl. She hasn't even met her love interest yet. He comes later. But, you know, he's ace and there's no sexual tension between the two because they're not interested in each other in that way. And that like is something that was really important for me to put like forward in this, because so many movies, it really irritates me, and it forces like the female into that kind of that love interest that's all they're useful for kind of trope, right? But if you keep them separate and so there's, you know, no romance between the characters, then they're seen as the characters themselves, as well as, you know, guys and girls can be friends.
Yes, exactly. That it doesn't have to be sexual or romantic, that you can have people of all genders just be friends. And that's all it is. And it's wonderful and fulfilling in its own self.
Amy, is this your cyberpunk?
Yes, this is my cyberpunk.
Oh God, I want to read it.
Yes, Darren agrees. Darren's like, all right, Amy, I have a mountain of beta/CP work today, but I'm adding your series to my list.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I don't know when you're getting it out, but I'm reading that book.
You know,
I'm reading that book. I don't care. I'm reading.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes, like I mean, like when I watched the Loki TV series, and yes, spoilers here. I'm just gonna. When the two Lokis kiss in the 6th episode, literally Tom can testify. I just immediately went boo. Like I'm the old lady in Princess Bride. Boo.
Yeah.
Like, no, wait, they're siblings too. This is nasty. Why did you ruin it with a romance? They're supposed to be friends.
Yeah.
So mad.
I am
look. Later. I'm sorry.
This might become a problem if I say it specifically, and I'm not going to hint why it will become a problem, but I am so done with siblings being romantically involved.
Oh, it's so gross.
And it being okay. I mean, I understand
it's not okay.
No. I understand the plot twist.
There are so many implications to why it's problematic.
I understand.
They keep throwing it into queer stories, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with that?
No, I understand if it's a plot twist and it's meant to be horrible. Like, oh crap! No, I totally get it, and I'm actually behind it because it will be like a critique towards that trope. It will be like it's actually horrible. I am so in for it. That please show me that romantic siblings is not okay. And it's actually bad in your story, then I am all behind you.
Sure.
Because it's a critique. But when it's okay.
No, you can tell the writer approved of this, and it's like, no.
No. And that has already become a problem. about me saying it. Spoilers or not spoilers, I'm not gonna confirm nor deny. Oh, oops. Yeah, it siblings romance is just stop
Nope.
it. Stop it.
I mean,
It
you
is-
can have a friendship romance, but that's not like that
I
kind
mean, that
of
happens. That happens.
like a friendship. Friendship has a romance of its own. You know,
Mhm,
you're friends, but again, there's nothing sexually romantic about that. It's just
Well, like, I've got mine is you could probably put it my stuff in the realm of Firefly because it's a space opera cyberpunk with a crew on a ship, right? That
Yay.
happens later in the book series though. But I've got men and women and they don't all hook up together. Like
Right.
some of you know
This
they don't-
idea that at the end of the series everyone is paired up and everyone has a couple.
Yeah, I wanted to
looking at
avoid
you.
that.
Yeah, looking at you, author who must not be
Mhm.
named, but everybody getting paired up and everyone has a come
Like
on.
some do, but that's because they meet in different circumstances.
Right.
So like I've got because originally like the way that my series is set, they don't all meet up in the same book together.
Mhm.
First book, I've got these two characters. Second book, I've got another half of the crew that meet up. And then the third book is when they all kind of go, oh, hey, I know you. This is my friend, blah, blah, blah. We all like feel the same way about this issue. And because of that, it meant that some of them kind of show interest in the other before the whole crew has completely come together anyway. So I've got two couples, I think, that come together, but one of them meets before the whole thing joins. And so it's, yeah, but I intentionally really didn't want to have everyone pair up. So I've got a bunch of people who aren't in relationships at all, or some people that might maybe meet somebody else outside of the whole group entirely. So
Right.
but yeah.
It's just like too much of a living in a bubble kind of.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
everyone in the story just paired up with everybody else in the story.
it's so
it
annoying.
feels so fake.
It feels
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
bubble.
It
It
doesn't-
does
that's-
feel like a
That's
bubble.
not how real life is.
Right.
You know.
You mean like
I
your
don't-
romance glory?
What?
You mean like your romance story?
Which one? You have not narrowed it down.
The one in California with the French, the two French ladies who own the apartment
Oh.
complex, and how
No,
you had to
not
change the
everybody-
characters.
Not everybody ends up with other people in that, because I do have like one ace. I have an ace character who's one of the secondary characters. But yeah, there is a polycule that ends up like that's actually what the romance is about, is how these people became a polyamorous group.
Mm.
But yeah, there's Ace, who, you know, truly is just friends with everyone. And then there's, you know, frankly, a lot of randy elderly folks. I mean, they live in apartments on their own, so it's not like, you know, one in exciting assisted living care place. You know, it's not like that. But you know, it's essentially like a self-made retirement community. And you know, they're at the end of their lives and they're like, why hold ourselves back anymore? So that's a whole sort of subset. But are you talking about that one?
Yeah. But I mean, of the part where, you know, you started writing it originally as a romance of the
I
traditional.
did with a love triangle. I started it with a love triangle and realized I hated it. I hated it about 3 days. This was last year's Dana project. I realized about 3 days in, I hated the idea of making one of the three main characters a bad person, and that's why this relationship wouldn't work. And I'm like, I hate it. I really like this person. How about I just make it polyamorous? There's no triangle. It's a lovely circle.
And
Nice.
and another rant sort of to have on this is where just because it's, you know, LGBTQ, that there has to be sex involved at all.
Right.
Right.
I mean, You have plenty of, main characters for, in literature for, hundreds of years that their sexuality never even comes up.
Yeah.
Or if it does, it's in passing. It's very tertiary to the story.
This is an excellent point. This is something I love the novel that when I read it, I was really gushing about it. I'm a fan of it, and I still do. I love it very much. But at the same time, it's kind of sad to me that the novel was about coming out as asexual.
Mhm.
Like the whole deal of the novel was like discovering that you're ace. And okay, great, but like can we explore something else and coming out? Like it is it does it really just have to be about that one specific? It's like you're reducing the character to just that, and the whole story is about that. And it's great to have those, so those works are already out and over and done with, so we don't have to. But like I want to see a little this is why I write what I write. I wrote a short story with an openly asexual character, but she was already out.
Mhm.
She was already out and proud and going to a karaoke and singing what she sang, and her asexuality was openly there.
Mhm.
But the story is a thriller noir.
Right.
That's why this is why I never use the LGBTQ plus label for my stories, because I feel like I don't qualify for those, even though my characters are queer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand that. Of like you're not making it a focus of your story,
Mm-hmm.
so
Regardless of the
yeah,
characters being there.
but I think like from a reader perspective, that is not a defining qualification
Mm-hmm.
for readers who are looking for queer content.
Right. That's so. This
Or
is
at least it certainly wasn't when I was young. It's not usually among the readers I know of when I was a librarian, a public librarian, where it has to be, quote, like the main focus has to be queer issues. Like, no, they
Mhm.
just wanted queer characters to see how they're living their life and how they navigate their life. And sometimes a person's queerness does inform how they approach a problem or how they find resolutions, and sometimes it doesn't. But readers want to see all of the above.
Right.
They want both when that character's queerness informs their approach to solving a problem, but they also want to see when they're like, my sexuality or my gender concept has nothing to do with this problem. I'm dealing with it for other reasons, or I'm approaching it at different rate for other reasons.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, I love it that we have those kind of stories so people who are discovering themselves can go and find out.
Mm-hmm.
But like making it the only point and focus is like where I kind of have a problem. It's similar to my problem with being a disabled writer, and people want to see like the life of the blind person. Dun dun dun. And I'm like, my life is just more than being blind, and it's the same problem. It's the same problem. I wrote a blind character in my sci-fi that some of you have seen, and I did hear feedback, not from you, but like from someone else who read my thing. And I did hear feedback that, well, I mean, I wish you could also, like, I understand that you don't want to, but I wish that you could also write more about like more the life of the blind character. I'm like, what else do you want? Everything that needs to be there for the story is there. I don't know what else do you want. It's like,
yeah, I think that may have in part because people just want that. Again, we talk about that when we talked about contemporary as a genre of that whole slice of life thing.
Yeah.
And I think that there are many readers who frankly are very interested in the idea of reading slice of life of a person who is seriously visually impaired and how they navigate their day. I mean, I can see that interest in it. It's just not what you're, writing or what your focus is.
I mean,
at this point.
I wrote it.
Although,
I will
say though, a way to take that comment and work it in is maybe I'll impart what they're really interested in is like, what are the strategies they're using to get around more? And like just mentioning, you know, are they counting steps? Are they looking for, you know, certain colors? Are they looking for sounds? Like, how is it that they navigate the
but
world?
it's there. I have it all there. It's just that it's not the typical
Central
pitch
focus.
black blind. That was the problem. My
Then
character
don't worry about it then. As
Yeah,
long
I
as
wouldn't worry
as
about
long as
it.
you're adding in that flavor text of how
Yeah.
they're doing this,
Because, like,
you're doing what you.
I know I
what you
always
want.
had an interest since I am visually impaired and like wear very seriously strong glasses. And
Right, correct.
and like I do, as soon as I wake up, I put my glasses on. They're the very first thing I do before I hit the alarm or anything.
Otherwise, you have no clue where you are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because I can see color without my glasses, but I really cannot see beyond that. So I always kind of had an interest in how do people who are much more visually impaired, how do they navigate, you know, everything in their day that they do without always having someone by their side. And now what ended up happening for me was that when I was 18, our dad married a woman who had been blind since she was 3 days old. And I, for a variety of reasons, including my own interest, I essentially became her assistant. So
Nice.
I got to really hang out with her for about a 2-year period and see how she navigates everything, let alone how she also does it both in Asia and America. And, you know, she had a service dog, but the service dog was not useful in Asia because where sidewalks, no. So as well as the dog had been trained in America. So it really, you know, something like it never occurred to me that service dogs are country specific.
Yep.
Because like, I mean, like, sure, if I thought about it, but because I had never traveled, well, I technically had, but I was too young when I traveled out of the country before. But when I was 18, I really saw like, yeah, even crosswalks and everything are set up differently in Asia. And this is why the dog is really not useful. So the dog essentially became a very expensive pet. Who also, by the way, stole chocolate, y'all. She was a chocolate fiend. It was a huge black lab.
God.
Oh, Bethy was really smart, and this was an issue. So essentially,
why is it always a black lab?
That's
one
what
I have
monster.
That's what
we
they
have
were
2
putting out.
labs, and mine is a black lab.
Yeah, look, these black labs. Oh, they are sneaky little. So yeah, I was
They're
an
smart.
assistant to Dottie, but I was also essentially a bit of a handler for Bethy, the black lab, who essentially also had issues since she had essentially been fired when Dottie moved to Asia, and was like, "You love me, but why don't I get to work anymore?" You know, so this was a whole issue. And getting to see how my stepmother like navigated her life, she was a very independent-minded woman, satisfied a lot of my curiosities. Like I did not know that like my stepmother had been taught at a school for the blind. She attended most of her like elementary through high school career. She had attended a school for the blind in Connecticut. That they taught them to fold their money in specific different ways per note. You know, so $5. Yeah, thank you, denomination size. And that was how she could tell the difference in her wallet without having to like, because I was like, do you just use the braille to imprint on each one? How does this work? And like, so being able to see these things that I never saw portrayed in media.
Easier in Europe.
Enlightening.
Money has colors.
Which again, very unuseful if you're blind. Like
in Australia, because we don't have as many notes, we don't have like a dollar note and everything isn't in notes. We have a lot of cents, and they're all different sizes or different shapes. Like we'll have the 5 cent is really tiny, 10 cents slightly bigger, 20 cents bigger, and the 50 cents has like sharper edges around it, so that visually impaired people can tell the difference between the coins.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just these little things were very enlightening for me. But mostly my stepmother just spent a lot of her mental energy every day memorizing things. And that seeing that is how she spends a lot of her mental energy. And that was very helpful for me. But also, like, here's another thing I did not know. I always wondered, how do blind people sign checks? How do they sign anything, quite frankly? And there is a little device. It's like little sticks and rubber. and it is, and then you put it down where they need to sign, and then they sign within the little section. But I'd never seen this portrayed in anything, in books, in graphic novels, magazines, TV, movies, nothing. You know what? I had always wondered. And when I would ask other people, they're like, oh, I guess you just put their finger where they should be signing, and they just get really good at keeping it straight. And I'm like, how are they going to get good at keeping it straight when they can't even practice without somebody? This does not make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. No, it depends on.
It's not sense. You know, that's
it
not
depends
an answer.
on. It depends on again.
Answer.
It depends on again how blind are you, because
Right.
like pitch black blind versus me type of blind versus someone who is like visually impaired, because it's a spectrum. It's like the same as queerness. It's
Exactly.
a spectrum, and it's it is just so yeah. I mean, I did write many things that I included for my character because the character has the type of blindness that I have. Because hello, it's my debut novel, and second, I never see my type of blindness in books. It's always pitch black, and I'm like, no, that's not my blindness. So I wanted to try something different, and I did include all the variations of things that I would do. A lot of it is based on real life, and then the person comes is like, oh, I would like to see more, and I'm like, there's no more. What else do you want? She has a magnifier glass and giant fonts.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's all there. I don't know what you want. Oh, you want the struggle of not seeing things and clumsily stumbling and putting my arms to touch the walls. Oh, that's what you want. No one, sorry, that's not what I do. So it also, like, I am very cynical about ableism, so that's why I am like, and I sense like in queer spaces would be similar. It's like, oh, but I wanted it to be more queer, or oh, I wanted it to be more this or less that, and more and that's why I feel like QueerLit is good, but it comes short because it's like it kind of puts like a specific expectation on some readers who are not queer.
Yes, hey, it's a classic trying to satisfy too many cooks.
Yeah.
Too many directors.
I think that with more diversity among writers, and just more writers in general, writing queer characters, writing queerness into their stories as feels appropriate or as seems appropriate, I think that there will be much more diversity, and it will feel more authentic for readers, and they will essentially get more of a feel of, no, this is actually accurate. This is how life is when you're queer. Of like, yeah, as Amy was saying in the chat, queerness is not the center of a lot of people's lives or their own personalities.
Yes.
It's just one aspect. It's not the aspect.
Yes, it does very much annoy me. Cue Kraken release.
Yes, I was like, we have to, cut what we're saying so that whatever is happening between Amy and Barrett in the chat, the Kraken rant stick can get released, because I am now curious.
What's going on?
I don't have popcorn.
So pretty much, like, this is one of my biggest peeves.
Okay,
and it's not necessarily queer, but it's primarily is to do with queer, is a character who is anything other than straight is usually portrayed as that is who they are and only who they are, and that irritates the crap out of me.
Yes.
So what does a person like me do?
Yeah,
what does a person like me do? I am blind, I am ace, I am pagan, I'm biracial, I'm adopted. What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for example, in my books, I know what my characters' orientations are and how they feel about themselves. But that doesn't come up in my books. It's not because I'm against that. Like, I already know that one of my characters is gay. That is fine with me. I appreciate him, and I actually really like that about him, and it's an area that I can explore with him. But unless that shit comes up, it's not relevant. And because he is not defined by that, he is defined by who he is, his actions. The mic is being dropped. Yes, he's defined by what he does, his interests, who he is as a person. He's like a curious person, but he's over and emotional, but he's really nosy and all these other aspects. But he wants to find out about this stuff and whatnot, and that's what pulls him into the plot. but he is also, this is, you know, how his interests are, you know, when it in terms of sexuality, that's how he feels. I'm like, that's okay. If, you know, like a hot guy walks past that's his type, he might make a comment on that, and that might be how you know,
right?
Now
but
but otherwise,
sexuality,
like
it just doesn't come up unless there's a cutie that hello, and then
exactly right. But they're not gonna. The characters aren't gonna.
Or the contrary, someone who's truly not their type, and they would be like, "Well, I mean,
exactly,
I like guys and all, but that's not my type."
Or my favorite one is the one of, you know, says the character's supposed to be, you know, gay or lesbian, but they could still appreciate the beauty of someone of the other gender. They're like,
that's very true.
It doesn't change the part of that's an attractive person. I have no
know
interest of being with them.
Who's like,
I mean, one of my best friends who is an out and proud and loud lesbian, and she's like, I mean, with that guy, I might become straight. Nah, not really, but you know, he's hot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you see the
we all like pretty things.
You know it.
We all can appreciate a pretty thing. Doesn't mean we want to take it home with us, but we can appreciate its beauty. You know,
you love a sunset, but you don't need it outside your backyard every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean,
how else will you see the next sunset?
But like, you don't need a character. Like, you don't need all your characters to go into the lounge room and sit down and say, "What's your, you know, sexual orientation?" Have a big discussion about it. I'm like, if it comes up, it comes up. Like,
exactly.
I look, not to slow your roll here, but I am here to tell you that is exactly what straight people do. Of like, so do you know how many straight people, or as a group, have sat me down and like, so what's everybody's type? Like suddenly, you seem too single. We need to get you placed. Like, excuse me, okay, what?
Yeah,
I definitely feel
that
like
is, you know what, that is no, but Glory, that is true. It's like as soon as they see that you're alone, like not dating, not doing, they are like, well, Dal, I want to know, like who's your guy, who's your thingy, and I'm like,
are you into? Maybe we can find it. It's like, I do not want you to find anyone right now. Okay, thank you so much. I'm good.
I'm good.
And you know, it's like, oh, do you know how many like people have just? It's like, no, I'm good. Thank you. And believe me, I can find them when I want them. I'm good right now.
Yeah, no. I had someone tell me, because I opened up recently I'm ace, and I sometimes I say it, not just for pride. I'm like, yeah, I'm ace, and I write up sometimes ace characters come into my stories. Sometimes it happens, and I had someone tell me, I hope they never see this stream because I'm not here to make personal drama, but you know, the person said, oh yeah, like when I was younger, I also thought no one would ever wanna me because I thought I was so ugly. I was like, no, honey, that's not the problem. I'm a doll. If I wanna, I can go out and get it, but I just don't want to go out and get it. That's the difference. It's like, yeah, I mean, that really hit me it made me feel awful because the person was like implying that, oh yeah, I also thought I was ugly and no one wanted to date me. And I was like, no, honey, I'm a doll. I'm gorgeous. It's just that I don't want.
And I think it's not all straight people. Oh, I do find that it is a kind of general consensus where it's almost like it's can't quite find the term, but when you know, wanting to find out like, oh, what's your sexual orientation, it's kind of like a treasure hunt almost in some sense of it. Yeah, you know what, I can't quite exactly find what I'm looking for to explain it, but it's almost like an exciting kind of reveal that people need to kind of latch onto and try and kind of figure out, like, because straight is just but then they're like, oh, it's this, when you're
for the most part, in my personal friendships, I do not normally bring up my sexuality unless it comes up.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. Like,
essentially, you know, yes, I have been hit on coming out of bathrooms, and then like, you know, and I come back to the table at the restaurant, my friend's like, what was that? And I'm like, I don't know, it was just a person. They're like, wait, some stranger was hitting on you just as you're leaving the bathroom and it's no big deal to you? What's going? And then so essentially comes up like, well, who are you interested in then? Why was this no big deal? You know, it's like,
it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter to you, you know?
In my case, that really makes me uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
that's why I am like, hi, I'm Da, I'm Ace. It's like, don't mess with me. It is
Yeah.
more like, don't bother me, because I do, like I said, I don't look bad. If I wore more makeup, I would look even better. I know, but I don't, precisely because I'm not interested. And
Mhm.
and I know I look fine. It's just my eyes are kind of meh. But besides my eyes, everything else is fine. And I'm a doll, and I know it. And
And it's so great that you have that confidence in yourself, because you can't rely on other people's confidence, and you have to have it from you.
No, I can, and also for some people I look very ugly, and that's fine too. I mean, that's all right, buddy. But this is the real reason why I don't show my face on the internet. I'm a woman and I look good. I don't want that kind of attention. I'm here for writing. I am here for writing, not
most of the
the
new
other
followers I get on Instagram are all men, and they click on the same 6 pictures.
Yes.
Right.
And they make comments on the same 6 pictures, all of them, and it's like that's pretty much the majority of my new followers. And I do not go looking for them, and I don't try to post pictures on Instagram of myself very much, because I am not thirsty. I am not looking.
Exactly. I'm not looking.
And even if you're not looking, like I have pictures that I think are awesome, look cool. It's an awesome aesthetic. I think they look hot or whatever. And I'm like not even being overly sexual or anything. I just think it's a really nice photo of me, and I want to put that on there. That's it, right? You know,
and it's like, they just, it's so much. It's like,
yeah, but
it is, I mean, to me, it is very anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
So I avoid it. Yeah. So, like, people misunderstand that I don't want to show my face because, she has low self-esteem. No, actually, no. It's the other way around.
Don't want to be harassed.
I don't want to be
not into harassment.
Exactly.
Like, that's fair.
I'm taking care of my mental health because I have my confidence precisely because I know how to keep my boundaries. And also I have social media because I'm a writer, not because I am thirsty. You know, social media is a great tool to get strangers to pay you some kind of attention. It works. And
I feel like we're in the minority of, wait, you're on the internet and you're not looking for sexual validation from strangers?
Right.
And it's like,
no, I'm just looking for someone to validate my writing. That's what I'm here for. That's, you know,
I'm here
say my writing's good, I'm happy.
My readers. I'm here to find my sci-fi readers.
Yes, definitely.
I'm here for my sci-fi and horror and thriller friends. That's what I'm here for.
Speaking of, if you have a beta, or you need a beta reader.
Really? Same. Yeah. No, for real. No joke. Same. If you need critiques, whatever, I'm here. Because cyberpunk with Ace and mine is a sci-fi with Ace. all the
like something also to do with having like the Ace character.
Right.
Like my main, like I would say she's my main character, right?
I love you.
Well, I've got main characters and then I've got my main character, you know?
Right.
Like right. And something's really important to me is I'm writing her kind of with myself in mind, not in a kind of weird egotistical kind of way, but in the way that I'm just not finding characters that I feel I can relate to. So because I kind of go towards more of a mask than a feminine kind of side and things. And even like I was asking some friends at the time, like I'm not finding enough strong females out in the world, in the media and things like that. And I was kind of questioning myself, like I'm not relating to this, so maybe I'm something different. And then they showed me something with a strong female, and I understood that, but I still didn't feel like I could connect because she was feminine. She was overly feminine, and I just don't relate to that. I'm like, and then I kind of made that connection, and that's why my main character, she's more of a neutral mask kind of side of things, and I think that's really important to have that character like. And I think, I know I'm going to relate it back to Mass Effect, but that's what I love about Mass Effect So it is really good because okay, I'm a gamer, right? Leave me alone.
We love you, Amy,
No, but
just
that's
the way you
great.
are. Okay,
But, like,
so
I think I
how
found
does this
my
relate to Mass
I
Effect?
don't-
Go for it, honey.
Okay, so there's two things that I really think that BioWare Mass Effect do really well, and that's like Femshare. It is a very strong female character. She's her own self, kind of the same energy that Ripley has in the Alien movies, right? She just is, and that's why I have a problem with some particular Star Wars movies that have come out in the recent years. It's a lot more contrived, whereas like Ripley just is. That is just her. She is just a strong, kick-ass female character, and that's what I want to make of my own characters. And the other thing with Mass Effect is I find they do queer representation quite well, because there are some characters you get to know the characters before you even find out about some of their orientations. You don't even find out how they feel about their sexuality unless you actually start flirting with them, and then it comes up, because it's not relevant otherwise. And like, you fall in love with some of the characters so much so I want to play a guy playthrough just so I can romance him because he's an awesome dude, right? And I think that's what I really like about like what you can do in like the BioWare games, like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, is because they do kind of have that openness and in that kind of queer representation. And yeah, I think because you can kind of like, same with the stronger female character and all that as well, I think it's really important because it's just not really represented very much. That's why I really wanted to focus on mine. So that's my TED talk anyway.
I think it's great. Hear.
And
on that note, I think it's a great moment for us to take another bio break. Just so that before we go down another rabbit hole, another delightful rabbit hole, I just want to let us all have a moment to think about what Amy has said during our bio break. Is the sentiment I'm trying to get to. So on that note, may I again recommend to everybody to think about now might be a lovely time to get something to drink if you are out. Now might be a good time to walk around, to get a snack, or to at least start thinking about what shall I eat for dinner. I'm just throwing that out there. I know controversy is my name. So, and on that note, we will see you all back here in approximately 10 minutes where we will talk about brainstorming possible solutions and final thoughts about queerness as a genre and writing more queer stories that definitely show the nuance of our characters. See you back in just a few minutes. Maybe, 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 boom. Hello, hello. Come out wherever you are. That's right. Pull it together, Tom. If anybody would like to, they could unmute themselves.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I was in bed and I was like, oh.
It just feels so weird for me to unmute people of like, maybe you need that moment, or for all I know.
Right.
Like,
I
you
had
had
to
a
stand
cat
up like, yeah.
screaming at you, and you're like, I really don't want to share this with the rest of the world. But I have a mouthy cat or dog in my life. They'll be over in a minute.
No, but I was just laying in bed and working on thumbnails for on Canva. So yeah. I had the second of, oh wait, hang on, I have to unmute myself.
It was like, part of me wants to unmute all of you, but part of me is like, what if you have a moment that you do not want unmuted? I'm just going to be over you. So there is a poll in the chat. If
what does the poll say? Because I'm not.
Okay,
not
the
looking.
poll is, what is the best writer self-care? Hydrate, snack, resting, other biological needs. Because it only let me have 4.
Sleeping.
At
resting.
least Twitch gives me 5. But as Haley pointed out, cats should be on the list, and I agree.
Resting is fine because I do need a lot of sleep. So sleeping would be. No wonder I wrote a story about dreams.
Yeah, I just got texted from work asking me if I can take another shift. I'm like, no, I like my mental health. No, thank you. I'm going to only do the shifts I'm rostered for.
Amen. Yes, absolutely.
Also, I'm writing and streaming, and I can't,
yes,
priorities.
See, mostly it seems to be in the discussions more of between relaxing and cats.
Yeah.
Well, because that's why I put other biological needs. You could count cats under that.
That's true.
Like a need to pet. And gosh, I know I love to pet. Petting is very relaxing and comforting for me.
Yes.
I
agree.
I swear to you, I think as a species, we humans have evolved to be the best petters on this entire planet. Like, there is no other species as good at petting as us. Like, maybe I'm a bias. I get it. But, like, I mean, have you seen the videos of people petting, like, fish out in the ocean, and the fish know, and they keep coming back because they want the little petting, and I'm like, we're so good at this.
I love it.
The one thing as a species we could export to the universe is, hi, I'm human, and I'm here to pet everything on the ship if you want it. Like, yes, we got ourselves a human. The pettings will begin. I feel like this is what we really have to offer the universe, y'all.
I feel like maybe that's what's missed out in the Star Trek series, is that the Klingons just really want the humans to pet them.
Oh, can you imagine?
That's it.
Oh, scritches. Right there.
That's the whole tension throughout the entire series. That's why they're angry.
How does a Klingon ask a human just to pet them?
I just need scritches right back here. You're just like,
Oh dear.
That's what I want to do. I want to like give the universe scritches. So much good petting. So yes. So during our break, we did catch a live Haley.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes. And she'll be back in a sec.
It is still the ghost of Haley.
It's she's between worlds. Let's say that she is between dimensions right now. But
I will say though, satin pillowcases are great to sleep on, but they can make it harder to get out of bed in the morning, and you may find yourself just like petting the pillow.
Yes. So Haley, how's it going?
I'm about to cry at this picture of a cat. It's no biggie. But glad to be here. Glad to be here. Let me start over. Let me start over. Hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Haley, and I make YouTube videos about writing and books and like QueerLit and stuff. And I also stream 3 times a week over on Twitch on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern on Fridays,
I don't
and
know how you do that, but you do.
4 p.m. Eastern on the weekend. And we do writing sprints, and we have fun. We have lots and lots of chaos. Yesterday, we also cried over cats, so it seems to be a theme. But yeah, thank you to Glory for having me on.
Yes, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we are now at the top of the 3rd hour. Like Haley, everyone's gotten to talk about their hot takes and any rants they have about shortcomings in this like I hesitate to say genre, but I guess the whole series is about genre writing, so take that with a grain of salt. But if you have any hot takes or things you love or things you want to rant about, if you need to want to say that now before we move on to talking about solutions and brainstorming ideas, that's cool. But if you're like, now let's just jump in, that's also cool. Whatever you.
Yeah, I have a hot take and a little promotion. Not for me, but my hot take is that there's a lot more QueerLit out there than people realize, and there are a lot more authors writing queer characters and incorporating like all different kinds of queer experiences than a lot of people give the community credit for. And I would say that if you haven't read a book with a queer main character in the last year, then you're not looking hard enough. And you're not you're not looking hard enough. And that could also be like very privileged because like it does also depend on the amount of books in like your country that are like locally available to anybody, but I would say that like they're definitely there and they're definitely out there. And speaking of one such book, even though it's an adult book and not YA, you should totally check out Goddess of Limbo by the amazing author Leah Falls. Not being paid, I'm not being paid to promote her book, but if I could pop her website actually in chat just to give her a shout out. She wrote the amazing book Goddess of Limbo. It's about 600 pages long, so it's a monster, but it's a really, really great monster. And like, there's so many queer identities in it. There's so many like different queer experiences, lots of frank talk about mental health, and it's fantasy. It's like a very queer Game of Thrones. And you should totally check it out. You should totally order it. And not so sneaky self promo, I did a review on it on my channel. So if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, sometimes I do book reviews depending on, you know, just things that fall into place. So yeah, it was a really great book though. It was a really great book and it had like a lot of great rep, and that's the main reason why I loved it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And just to let you know, all of our guest links are down below, at least in theory. Does that mean I overlooked one or somebody's link has changed and I forgot to update it? No, I have ADHD. I forget stuff all the time. Y'all lucky I remembered like I was doing a show today. Okay. And honestly, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tom and I like are housemates and one of us usually remembers, hey, wait, it's a Monday. But it has happened where we've both been up for an hour before either of us remembered today was a Monday. So
that happens.
Yeah, a household of ADD and ADHD. Yeah, it's like, ooh, we need to actually get in gear. Like, so I make mistakes. Let me know if there's something that needs to be changed. Folks have let me know in the past where it's like, I have a new link. Like, no problem. I'll fix it. But yeah, everybody's links are down below. Haley's and Amy's and Doll's and Chandra's and Tom's and even mine. And then a bunch of other people are, down below too. So be sure to check that out, especially if, you get to know any of our co-hosts and friends and you want to get to know them even more, which is definitely why one of the reasons we do this is we want you all to know all the people that we really think are amazing. We do not invite unamazing people onto the show. I will admit it's a privilege, okay? I'm a bit of an elitist. Obviously, I have issues. And I only want to hang out with fantastic, amazing folks. So it's funny how that worked out.
So if you don't see anyone here that you know what Gloria is saying, then
I
there's a
mean,
reason.
You could, however, suggest somebody, because it doesn't mean that I have like the exclusive, the planetary live streaming exclusive on amazing people. It just means these are the amazing people I found so far, and that occasionally make time for us.
Well, I love coming on whenever I am able to.
Yeah, we
Same.
love
It's always a
it.
good time.
Me too.
I clarify. It's an honor to be here. It's
Mhm.
just sometimes I cannot because Dal has a very low energy level. Glory has helped me with something today. You didn't even realize, but I am another of those blind people who memorize everything. Even though I can see a little bit more than the pitch black blind, memorization has always been like my hand, like the thing that I cling to. It's like I memorize everything. I memorize where my coffee jars are, where my mug is, where my keys are. Even though I could see them, maybe the bulk of the keys or the shape of the mug, maybe I can still memorize. I put it over there next to this thing, next to that thing. So it's like memorization is a lot of what I do. I just don't think of it anymore. Like, I don't think other people don't do this. But it might be one of the contributions as to why I have such low levels of energy, and also depression is a problem. So depression also lowers your energy to the point that you barely can do one thing a day. So this is another reason why I've been so surprised, genuinely surprised, that I can do one video script a day, at least a rough draft. I will have to edit them later, but yeah. I do a lot of mental work that I don't realize I do, plus depression.
Yeah.
So I don't always have the energy to be here, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be here. It just means that I'll just kind of handle at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really nice to be a part of the community when I have the strength.
And we love having you, and you can join us.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, like, I really, try to. It's so hard as an adult to essentially find time to hang out together. And so I use this show's time slot as an excuse to try to get hangout time with people. It's just that we do it in a, I would say semi-public format. So part of the show is public, the part where we're live streaming, but there is the time before and sometimes the time after when people can join us backstage, if you will, or on Discord. And it's just, quite honestly, it's what I live for. It's what gets me out of bed. It's what I look forward to, and why I put in so much work, and Tom and I both put in so much work for the show, is we live for the times when we get to hang out with y'all. As
It's
well
good
as
fun.
the folks that show up in chat. Like, this would not be half as much fun if not for all the wonderful people who show up in the chat and hang out with us, or even when they're lurking, they're like, I'm lurking, but I'm here. And it's like, it just warms me to know that they're there.
It does. I get to have an audience for my rants and TED Talks. It's
yes,
great.
there's somebody here to witness it,
Exactly.
It's just so wonderful. I mean, gosh, my life has changed in such a positive way since finding this community. And, because y'all know I'm a people collector. I'm like, here's my basket. Have you met this person?
I'm a people hoarder.
Have you met this person? All in my basket. So that's how, I collect.
Gotta
folks.
collect them all.
Yes. Every one of them.
Uh-oh. Wasn't one of the Marvel, like, what if episodes about this guy who stuck people in a museum?
Okay, that's different. I let my free-range people. Everybody's allowed to freely roam. It's just, I can call them to me. I can, like, message, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay?
More of a rancher.
I'm more of a people rancher.
Oh, no.
Less
No.
of, like, a people museum curator.
Careful, she'll bring out the Pokeballs.
I like to let my
dear.
people free roam. You know, helping enrich the environment in which they roam.
Grass-fed people.
Yeah, grass fed.
That fresh air, y'all. That's what makes my friends so like warm and compassionate. It's all that fresh air that they get when they're
Yeah.
out there on the ranch. Yeah, it's good for you. It's all that good fresh air. Yes. Hello, Aphrodite Lee. I'm so glad to see you. Speaking of
Nice
people,
to
I'm
see you.
still trying to collect. Anyway, so I'm teasing
She's
y'all.
got a list and she's slowly ticking us
I
all
do
off.
have a list of people I'm still trying to like.
Oh,
It's true. It is true.
Just
So yeah,
you know,
no.
just a long trail of Reese's Pieces. For anyone to get that old a reference,
Oh dear.
come
Oh, wow.
into the house.
I mean, you already know it, but you've got me at New Orleans, so just take me there, and I'm good.
I'm here whenever life allows it.
Yes.
I know Aphrodite. One day. Anyway, hi Chandra. It's lovely to see you too. So, no longer do we have the ghost of Haley or the ghost of Chandra. We now have the like corporal versions of them
Yay!
and Legolas. So, oh yeah,
That is
That's
amazing. I need one of
maximize
those.
the show.
You're welcome. He's
Where do you
here every weekend.
What do you even
I always have to remember to
find?
put him back before work. One
that would be a fun
day I
meeting.
What hellscape do you work at that he is not welcome on your remote meetings?
I just feel like he would be a little unprofessional.
No.
I just started 3
dressed
months ago,
professionally.
Glory.
He's a professional. Okay. Look, he's got what are the gauntlets? Whatever they're called, wrist cuffs. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
gauntlets.
Professionally dressed. He's like, look, he's got
Mhm.
clothes on.
The first
Yeah.
time my
And
cat
already.
showed up, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing." And then people were like, "How's the cat? Can we see? Oh, puppy!" Like it. When everyone works from home, it's the little joys.
I am telling you right now, like I love each one of you for who you are, but also if you have a furry baby, I definitely want to see a cameo.
I have them, but they're so big I can't really pick them up onto my lap. So
Getting to treat and like teach them of like when I hold the
Yes.
treat here, you like give me your paws
I
on
mean,
my legs.
I could go get my rabbit.
I have garden. Okay, I have garden cats. They are not friendly. They are
It's
not.
like yeah,
they are
don't worry about the unfriendly ones. Yeah, like I was recently adopted by an outside cat, but she is not coming inside the house. She's very feral.
Yeah. No. Like
But
sometimes
she's
I have.
a nice little cat.
Sometimes you've heard it. Sometimes I have to mute my microphone because the cats outside are having a moment. Okay, like that kind of yeah. I have to mute myself because meow meow is happening outside. So we don't want to hear that on a stream. It's kind of creepy. So if I randomly mute
Yeah.
myself, it was the cats.
It's like I would love to show y'all her. She's a little tuxedo cat, but you know, it's just it's not in the cars. No one else in the neighborhood is allowed to touch her. Apparently, I'm the only person she will let pet her, and I do not really feed her much. I've only since she let me pet her, I started feeding her little bits of ham.
We have one of the garden cats is a witch cat, and she's all black. That's why I call her a witch cat. And she's friendly. She's like very cute and meow meow, like pet me, and she will like rub her head on your leg and everything. She will do all the things. But when it comes to like taking a picture of her, she's like, okay, no friendly no more. Bye.
Right.
So no, that's why you haven't seen my garden cats, because no, not happening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to. I'm downloading album covers because I'm making an Instagram post with music.
Cool. Yeah, there will be no Lady Kaiju in the house. No.
No.
On the
I need to
note
sleep
of
at night.
feral cats, I grew up in this like little teeny tiny town. Say that 10 times fast. But our neighbor had a cat that was part bobcat, part regular cat. And he would only go to her, only get pets from her. And he would just be around, terrifying everyone. And then he would just, be where he wanted to be for a little while, and then he would just into the mist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
Yeah, Tom was like, no, that's your cat. That's nobody else's cat. And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah. Because Tom says that there is a universal rule that all librarians and all writers have to have a familiar cat.
Mhm.
When if you don't, one is assigned to you. And I was like, what is it? And Tom's like, watch. Because our next door neighbor loves cats and is obsessed with cat. How many do they have now? 7 inside?
Yeah, something like that.
It's a cattery in there, y'all. It's a lot of cats.
I can barely survive my one.
He wants more, and his wife is like, no, not until I get a dog. There's all sorts of stuff going on.
Did she literally say over my dead body?
She is like, you're absolutely not allowed to collect one more cat if I can't have a dog, because he doesn't want a dog. And she's like, no. So, but
I thought you said she said not until I'm dead.
No, not until I get a dog. Not until I get a dog. That's what she wants. She wants a dog. Yeah. Oh, well, she kind of has said not over my dead body too, now that you mention it. But anyway, she's a Twitch streamer. I'm just not here to air her business. But anyway, he has tried to befriend this cat now for what? A year and a half?
Yeah.
And she's like, absolutely not. You are allowed to feed me, but you are not allowed to touch me. And that's when she came over to me and I was like, oh, hello there. And just started petting her. She's like, yeah, okay. Got food though. And Tom's like, yeah, that's yours. That's yours. It's
but
because
cats are kind of like that too. It's like the more you want it, the more they're like, you thought.
Yeah, as I've tried to explain to Gloria, no, this cat is just shaking me down. I know when a cat.
I know when people shake me down. Tom's like, I've been shaken down so many times in my life. I know when I'm getting shaken down for food, for money, for sex. I know when I'm getting shaken down. And I was like, well, I have seen it. People do try to shake you down a lot. I have noticed, particularly of the female persuasion, does try to shake Tom down a lot. It's just a thing around here. I don't know why, but yeah, they do try to work Tom like an ATM.
They're like, he is so happy and innocent. He will have no defenses against him. I'm just like, I'll help as best I can. Stop doing that though. That's weird.
You're being gross.
Stop with the wild.
Strangers twerk in front of Tom, and I'm like, what is happening here? And Tom's like, they're trying to shake me down. Don't ignore it. And I was like, yep, okay.
Well, I have a question. This is completely unrelated. But with fur babies, especially my cat has different facial expressions, and it's unrelated to my behavior. But my dog has specific eyes that she does when she's asking for something, and my question is, how?
We've bred dogs for that.
Yeah, we've literally bred dogs for their facial expressions.
They have eyebrows specifically for humans.
But also, cats do have expressions. They're just not facial expressions. They have ear stuff, and they have tail things, and then they make noises. And that is their version of expressing. So they do have consistent communication. It's just not what makes sense to us as primates.
I guess that's what you said about the ears. I definitely see, because he definitely does different stuff with his ears.
Versus they open their mouth more as a how to smell better.
Yes.
It's actually got a name.
When they're doing that they're smelling.
I think Piper gets overheated because she really likes to curl up under blankets. So she'll do that for a while, and then she'll come up and she'll be like, I'm like, you did this to yourself.
Yeah, it's doggy version of sauna. Yes, it makes sense.
She does that a
Yeah.
lot. So
Yeah.
much.
My doctor used to do that a lot. So, okay. Here we are, back on track. Brainstorming possible solutions and final thoughts about queer lit, queer genre writing, whatever the above. Because we have talked about a bunch of shortcomings.
Yeah.
Most of it being other people's shortcomings, not ours.
Stop writing characters either as like an entire queer book or like stop creating the division within the story.
Mhm.
Have a blend so that it can't exclusively be shelved as one or the other, but also make sure that you're not just killing off your queer characters as per the usual stereotypes.
Yeah, at least have reason within the story.
Oh yeah, the bury your gays trope.
Oh god, I hate
Yeah.
the bury your gays.
Well, I have a
I
solution.
also hate
for
the
that.
bury your minorities. I'm like, could we just look, I know this is not like a great thing to say, but can we just kill off the white male characters for a little
That's
bit?
what I was gonna say. What about bury
Mm.
your straights? Oops. Oops. Sorry.
I mean, look, like I realize like that's not really fixing the problem, but sometimes it just feels justified.
Just
Anyway.
don't unbalance it, I think. It's just treat it as killing the character because of the character, not because of their sexual orientation.
I mean,
there's
look,
just-
Game
yeah.
of Thrones managed to do it because
Mhm.
they killed everybody.
Well, so the way I used to hear it was you don't have to worry about bury your gays and bury your minorities or your people of color if you just have so many
Yeah,
that
it doesn't.
you know you're not killing off an entire section with one character. Ditto
Yeah.
for villainy. You know, you're nobody's going to accuse you of, oh, how dare you have a person of color be the villain if there's more villains, or I mean, more people of color than just the villain. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you know, like how do you avoid the Hays Code problem? Because people have now internalized the Hays Code, even though the Hays Code no longer is being used in Hollywood studios. Like with villains being people of color, villains being you know, queer, villains being all these other things. How do you avoid it? Well, if you've got enough variety, if you have enough diversity, and you have multiple ones of all of it,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry as much.
And
so what if one of them
also-
dies when you've got a ton more queer folks and people of color and women, and you know, you don't have to worry about it.
I will say part of the issue, though, is one of the ways in which male characters, the strong white male character, is shown to have struggle is by killing off his best friend, his wife, his dog.
I believe
And-
that's
The fridging.
fridging.
Mhm.
So much fridging.
Yes.
If you show that male characters can have emotions outside of my wife died and now I'm allowed to have feelings, if you can show that, you're actually humanizing men and their emotions without having to, on the other side, kill someone in order for them to be allowed to have feelings.
Yeah.
It's shameless self-promotion again, but that one of the two of my main characters in book one who is male, who is also Ace. Something that I really go into and something I really love to write about is getting into the heads of the characters and how they're dealing with situations. And one of the things I really do with him is how he's starting to kind of panic and he's freaking out about all the pressures and everything and how he's feeling, and he feels about stuff. He freaks out about stuff. And I think it's important. And he does it just as much as she does, you know. So then they come together and they all kind of have, you know, like, so I think, yeah, it's very important to have that kind of
I will
thing,
say, just something I posted a little bit earlier, but I was surprised that there is at least one book I've read recently that did do all of it very well. Oddly, I wasn't expecting it. Was Hank Green from SciShow. His series, Beautiful, Wonderful Thing, about the Carls, they there is, the main character ends up actually, ends up being, bi, really pan. We see, we have a male character who has emotions, for plenty of things, including the main character, and we get to explore all of this, and it's not none of them are defined by a trope. You can just have characters be characters.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
That's who they are as people.
But I just realized, like, when we were talking about all this, wait, I have actually read a book that actually does work all of this and shows that it can work. It's not but mainstream doesn't like this. Like, Hank Green got it published mainstream, and it was really well received.
That's my fear.
That's awesome.
My fear has always been like, what I'm writing, no agent really will want it. Like, my biggest fear is that I'm going to get finally a full manuscript request at some point. And then the agent will see the entire book and it's gonna be like, yeah, this is too outlandish. Like, they are too different and it's too diverse to be real.
So, fun fact that actually happened to me this past year, and I didn't really pursue it because, like, I decided that book was just gonna be like shelved for the moment. Not related to the agent. Well, kind of. But she basically, I did get a full manuscript response and request, and she said that her main thing was that I'm not sure what sets this manuscript apart from others in the same genre right now. And I was like, ooh.
So
ooh.
it was the other way around.
Yeah. But the reason why I bring it up is because, like, I'm like with you with, like, the diversity and, like, the own voices and, like, the, queer main characters and everything. And it was like, what else does it need?
Right, like they just give you whatever excuse to sound like a good person, but deep down you feel like, yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm my problem is that I don't only include queerness. I also, like I said, I also include disabilities, and I include a lot of multicultural stuff. So it's gonna be like one of those stories that I already hear the agent saying, yeah, but like there's no market for this is too diverse to be real. And I'm like, okay, so I am basically too diverse to be real. I feel this. I'm afraid that people are gonna tell me, oh, Dal, but like you're too complicated. Yeah, I am. I'm still a person. But I fear this. I genuinely do. I because someone mentioned uh, a while ago that you are allowed to have only one queer friend and one color friend and one blind friend. So what if I am the three things at once? So which box do? Oh no, you are too complicated. I fear this. I genuinely do. So it's just like when you bring in the topic of what they call intersection, it's called that, right? Intersectionality. Yeah, when you bring that in, it's like, ooh, so where do I put this? Is it a disabled book? Is it queer lit? Is it multicultural lit?
That's why I stand so staunchly against this whole concept of separate but equal, because then you can't put your book in more than one place, and then they're like, well, we can't have this book because it doesn't fit into one of these boxes that we've created specifically for you, so get in the box. Right? No, thank you.
Speaking of that, I've got a sensitivity question, actually. So I've got two of my characters who are bi, but they end up in a straight relationship. And that is fine. There's nothing against straight relationships with people who identify as being bi. I'm just concerned that that could be taken the wrong way.
Oh, yeah,
the
bi erasure thing, like the straight passing. Yo. Savvy writes books. Her channel. She has some great videos on the topic of bi erasure and like the straight passing privilege that some bisexual people have, and like the problem with it and whatever, the whole discussion. I am not bi, so I cannot speak. But
Because
I think an important thing to point out is just because a bi person is in a straight relationship, that doesn't mean their attraction goes away. So one way of acknowledging that is just simply to have a scene or something where they're like, oh, hey.
Yeah. And I could even have both of them in the couple go, oh, hey, to whoever is walking past the street saying that person's cute, and they're all both agreeing.
Right.
You know, like
yeah. One of the things like you can have is characters to have conversations, and they don't always have to have conversations that directly move the plot forward, because real life is not that way. Character development happens not necessarily when the plot is moving forward, but when, you're doing whatever the daily part of living, procuring food, eating it, cleaning up, just chatting. People often, I find, enjoy a little like half hour, 45-minute chat right before going to bed. Like, it's like a little wind down chat where people talk about pretty much, it seems like, flow of consciousness, honestly. Like it's random, or like, because where you just sort of, it's like how the brain offloads sometimes for some people, where you're just literally talking about, hey, I just thought how funny it is that we're both bisexual, and here we are in a straight passing relationship, and that is just so wild to me because that doesn't really reflect my past history. And I just thought how I've never looked straighter than when I'm with you on the street, and I thought that was funny. These literally kind of in passing conversations that real humans have.
Or even a conversation about like, hey, do you feel like you're missing anything? Or do you still think about, as a way of like Lori said, within that context, or even, just being out where a character notices another person and their partner asks about it, not in a mean or aggressive way, but just out of like, I care about you and I know this is a part of who you are, and I want to know genuinely, does it bother you, or do you feel like you're missing something? Are you getting everything you need out of this relationship?
Or even just like, this is actually based on a real conversation I had with a friend last week, where I went to see a new doctor. And when I was telling my friend about it later, I was describing the doctor and was like, oh yeah, they were totally your type. Like, and they're like, oh really, how? And I then described them why I felt to my friend, this person would totally be their type. And they were like, oh, that young, like, essentially this was a second year resident doctor. And I was like, yes, that, yeah. Oh, so great. Still wearing their first monogrammed lab coat. Anyway, like, but it's just, you can have these little in passing conversations. Honestly, then what my friend actually did was started talking about their new relationship they were currently in. Like, oh, that reminds me, I wanted to tell you about, this relationship I just started, and how I would like to get your thoughts on it soon, as soon as you can meet this person. Which, we arrange because of the holidays will not be till January. So, like, you can have these little conversations in your story. As I said, they don't all have to move plot directly forward. They can just be seemingly casual conversations, but in fact, what they are giving is character development, as well as showing a relationship. They are essentially exhibiting that emotional intimacy that you have with your friends or with a romantic partner or whomever. All of those are ways, because why, yes, occasionally sexuality does come up among friends, like particularly oh yeah, they were totally your type, I know, and like, really, you describe my type, like, okay, this is what they look like. They're like, you're absolutely right, that is my type. So, those kind of what I think of as what is it, the little hours, I think is what it's called in classic stories, or in American European type storytelling, of the small hours that are not part of the big moments of our lives. They're the small moments.
Small
Sorry, I was
hour.
quiet. I was typing a lot of notes down.
No, it's okay. I just was like, I'll stop talking now because y'all know I can fill the space.
No, I think it's good. I agree. I think something that expresses how they are still interested in other people of the same and opposite gender. I think like just those little moments to still say it's okay for them to feel that way, kind of thing, not just completely erase it and turn it into a straight relationship, but have them kind of almost bond together over over that person walking along the street,
and again,
kind of thing.
This does come up with what we were talking. I don't remember how relatively recently, in the last month or two, about what do you describe about the apple? You don't say it's red; it's assumed to be red. You say it's orange. You
don't say it's round because it's assumed to be round.
So you don't need to say the assumed parts of this relationship is functional. If you show them, though, or if this relationship is dysfunctional, you show the parts that are different. So yeah, if one of the characters or even both of them are bi or pan, have them bring up, what they find attractive and whether that's they both find the same, like Maggie was saying, of like, her kid and their husband, have the same type, or if they have totally different types. They're like, oh, I've totally got to introduce you to someone I met today because you're going to find them hot.
Right.
It's just fun.
My current project is actually, it's interesting because it's gay characters who are in a straight relationship or appear to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's fun to play with that. It's something that maybe you don't always see, but it expresses something about people in general. And the reason behind the relationship definitely is relevant to the time in which the story is set. So it's not just a plot device. It's addressing things in the way that they were. So even though you may have some things that seem a little bit stereotypical, there are ways to address that within the context of the story.
And
if it makes sense for the story, then that's the story, but you're not writing it that way to suit a stereotype or to follow the norms of the genre.
No. Like I said, this was like posting of Chasing Amy, which goes over a lot of those of people don't stop being themselves despite whatever relationship they're in at the time.
Well, yeah, what I really liked about Chasing Amy, even when I was young, because I think I first saw it when I was in community college, was, the little conversations. They felt, sometimes they felt awkward, but that kind of reflected my experience with people, these awkward conversations, but they still felt casual. They felt natural in that they felt authentic to me. Sometimes conversations come up with that. And definitely in Chasing Amy, there is actually a fair amount of discussion about relationships and sexuality and friendships and morals. But they are in the little conversations, the casual conversations. Most of it is the little moments. And it's one of the things I found charming about that movie. I mean, there's plenty of, it is definitely a product of its time. It has that 90s brassness that's like bordering on just pure offensive rather than like underlying offensiveness. They're definitely, it definitely has that vibe of the late 90s. And I know that can be quite off-putting for people, but having lived through the late 90s, I'm here to tell you, it felt very natural at the time. Because, wow, I was surrounded by plenty of jerks. So, but I did think that was one of the things he did quite well. Granted, he did have a lot of help with his script from other very talented scriptwriters who essentially, because he was a little indie film, helped doctor his script without, needing to be paid oodles of money. They essentially did a lot of what we all do here, where we, beta read for each other and we CP for each other. And it's like, of course, I want you to be successful. I'm going to help you however I can. And he had a lot of help from other indie filmmakers as well for that. And I think that that's what brought a nuance and depth to otherwise a rather shallow film.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's now over 20 years old, so I think it counts as a classic. I feel that in my heart. It hurts right now. It's literally beating in pain, but it's okay.
Does that mean we're all classics?
I believe we are by young people.
We are all classics, honey. All of us.
Oh, honey, I'm ready to go to the classic human show. You know, there's in America we have the vintage cars or the classic car shows. I'm definitely like, why, yes, hello. I've made it beautiful. This, she needs reworking, but this chassis is still running, okay? Like, she's street legal, okay? So Eva says, how about that asexual erasure? Like, just double them spinsters or lonely in a house on a hill and call it done.
Yeah, I don't want to go there. I don't have the mental capacity to go on the multiple times where I feel like, oh, this character could be ace. Nice. And ooh, no, they get a romantic relationship. Ooh,
I feel like the real way to show an ace character is to show how their relationships function. They are part of society just like everyone else. It's not a without this you are incomplete. But then again, that is sort of the change over between the Gen X and, to me, the Gen X and the millennial divide is we see with millennial and Gen Z you don't have to have kids to have a full life. You don't have to have a long-term partner to have a full life. We're now having much more expanded concepts for what makes somebody fulfilled and what makes a fulfilling life. Oddly, this is actually kind of going back to the turn of the last century views about you did not need, offspring to leave a lasting impression on the world. That, what you do in life matters and you can affect so many. It doesn't, it's not a tragedy that someone didn't have kids. And it's not something's wrong with them if they chose not to have kids. If they weren't interested in having, a partner or getting married to someone. But yeah, that's what I've noticed sort of between the Gen X and the millennial. I mean, Gen X definitely was dealing with it, but they were definitely still heavily influenced by boomers. We're supposed to, the Gen X still feels like they're supposed to have family versus millennials, essentially because of economic reasons, had to start just making a stand of, no, it's not possible. This is not a functional requirement to have on me, and I will just not accept it.
I know.
And then they just sort of continued on, and now you see more in Gen Z of where it's whatever, each person wants to make their life. And that's up to them, and that's fine. And that's not up to anyone else to say what is, good or bad or make, moral concepts about.
Which is still totally stressful, I have to add. It's
life is stressful.
Well.
Wait, is life not supposed to be stressful? Really? Wait, I thought
No. No.
I mean, there is potential for drama and story everywhere. Anyone who's like, no, but if you don't have this, you can't really write a good story. It's like, oh, then you are so sheltered.
Yes.
What was it? The rejection letter for Ursula Le Guin, that there was not enough drama because the pacing was not there because there was too much world building, blah blah blah, and the drama was not enough. Something like that. Oh, please.
I personally absolutely love drama, but I really enjoyed some books that I didn't feel were very dramatic, that the relationships were complicated for reasons other than the drama. That
I'm so happy you're saying this.
I mean, relationships are complicated whether or not people have gigantic emotional outbursts. In fact, one of the most interesting story. Well, I mean, if you've read Rebecca, there are very dramatic moments in that, but most of the conflict comes in the internal monologue of the main character, where you see so much of her insecurities, so much of how she's, and I mean, honestly, it's just a commentary on anxiety, to be quite honest.
That's the one with the like dead first wife, right? And the house haunting. Okay. Yeah. I was like, hold up. Is that the one that
But so much of it is about her thoughts.
Yeah, it is. It's very internal.
And she really doesn't she's not a character who likes great emotional outbursts. You can tell that because she doesn't say 90% of what she's thinking, which is within character for her. So when things that are dramatic do happen, I feel like it gives them greater impact, and therefore you don't need as many dramatic things to happen in the book, because the character is the opposite of that, and the dramatic things carry it so far because of the impact being so lasting and indelible for that character. Versus characters who have a different drama every day. You're just like, sweetie, you're exhausting. And it's like the kind of person where you're like, I can only stand so much of this person because everything they do absolutely makes me want to hit them or shake them or do something else that's bad for everyone. And so I see them once a month, if that, for a limited period.
I lost a few friends when I started a rule of, we talk about the drama, we talk about the problem. Now, do we want to talk about solutions? Yes or no? And then, no, we don't get to come back next month and just rehash the same drama. What's the new drama? Because we already talked about that story. You said you didn't want to do any solutions. Do you want to do solutions now? And they're like, no. Then,
yeah,
I have done the same thing, and it's very I know everything that comes before the but is negated, but how I usually start the conversation is, I love you, but we've talked about this a significant amount of time. And so, like Tom said, are you open to troubleshooting this? Or are you never allowed to bring it up to me again? It is your decision. But I just want you to know that I can't hear this one more time, because I will shake you.
It's just getting boring at a certain point. We've done the same thing. Nothing's changing. Why do we need to talk about it again?
And I've had a friend say that to me, and I was like, but I don't want to say that. I'm mad. And he was just like, listen.
Well, then let's figure out ways to express that madness.
Pretty much.
I'm here for that, too.
But you have to do something.
Yeah.
But if you write characters like that, which, by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm sure there are people here and everywhere who really enjoy the story, but that is the biggest thing about a lot of YA that I can't deal with. And also,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Like, it's why I stopped reading it way long time ago, like 10, 15 years ago. I was like, this is where I get off the bus.
Also specifically Shadow and Bone.
Don't have any like real lasting emotional growth.
Is Nia still here? Because
Well, that's when the author is bad.
That's what I thought, and that's why I got off the bus when YA was just starting to crest of like, nope, I am not here. They are so young; they should be growing. They should still be growing as people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that anyone should ever stop growing, in my opinion, but I mean that's apparently a whole other controversy.
So to me, that was what I like about.
Like, I got called out
about Hunger Games versus Nia's here, good. Versus Shadow and Bone, because in Shadow and Bone, there's so much focus on the relationship side. I'm like, how can you be this petty and selfish? Versus in the Hunger Games, where Katniss is much more like, why does everybody care about who I'm dating? I'm trying not to starve.
Mood.
Yep.
There was this really great Twitter thread that I think by the author Rosie Thor, who like just made this great Twitter thread about an asexual reading of Katniss, and like analyzing the Hunger Games and analyzing like, you know, her character in the books, and it was a really, really fantastic, really fantastic take.
Mm-hmm.
Also on that note,
So
unfortunately,
Katniss
I have
being
to
Ace?
go. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, like
lovely.
a whole reading on like Katniss as Ace instead of like perceived straight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you
Yeah.
see, but this.
I
Oh, I know Haley has to go. Okay, I will wait.
well, I wanna try and find the thread for you all, but
I think from what I remember, Katniss actually, I don't know if she is Ace or not, but I do remember one line she expressed in the first book saying that she's not even giving Gale or anyone her kind of line of sight because she didn't want to raise a child in that world. And that was her main reason. But I don't know exactly if it goes further than that or not. I just remember that was in the book.
well, it was a really insightful
Yeah.
like analysis that I read. I'm trying to find it.
And it could also be one of those things where, yes, the character could or should have been, and we don't know what happened in the editing process.
Yes.
But also, if the author was being 100% true to the character, would that have been how they ended up?
Exactly. I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know
Dorothy
that
said-
there was a lot of push to start putting romance into YA around the time when Hunger Games was being written.
Right. No, and this is the other thing. But I know Haley has to go, so I'm just waiting because I'm gonna go on a.
Do you want me to say goodbye before you say your thing?
Yeah,
The rant stick
you
is
better.
Go
changed
on,
hands.
go.
I'm
I
gonna go.
feel like
I
it's like truly the rant is due. Like, okay, anyway.
Yeah, we need a graphic or something
yeah.
for on each person's.
Well, I
But
linked
Haley,
the
you do
thread.
not have to leave till you actually you desire to be rid of us. It's
No,
fine.
I mean, I just.
Thank
I
you,
just-
thank
I'm
you. No,
just being- no, I mean,
you
I'm
could
just
like just
considerate 'cause
loiter. It's
said
no,
okay.
I unfortunately I realized that the store is actually closing early tonight, so I have to run and do some errands. So I'm really sorry, everybody, but if I can make like one last point, like bringing in what I said earlier, that like there's definitely queer lit out there, and like there's definitely good queer lit out there right now. That like if you like haven't seen any of it, then with like all due respect, then like you're not looking hard enough. And like there's definitely like you know, there's like tropes for everybody, and I gotta say, just about YA for like the books that I've read within the past year, obviously like I'm very biased because that's like kind of all that I've read last year, but like it's gotten, you know, it's gotten better. Obviously still not perfect, but like there's definitely queer lit if you're looking for it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
In
you.
my book. No, I'm kidding. All right.
Oh,
but
I've done that
thank you so
plenty.
much. Thank you so much, Glory, and thank you so much, everybody. I'm so sorry that I have
I
to
hope
run.
we can see you next week because I have
hope
you
we
down with a
can see
question
you
mark next
again.
week when we talk about middle grade and YA.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
You don't.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Haley.
you. Thank you.
I think that Haley's eyes literally crossed there for a second. I felt
Yes,
like I, had
I do
achieved
think so.
something right there, a badge, a little bit. I was like, I feel good about it. Maggie says, you also have to look at Katniss as someone who suffered the emotional trauma of losing her father and then suddenly having to be the adult in the family because her mother had a breakdown, so she can grieve.
Yeah.
Right. So again, that's something I wanted to, but this is gonna be a long talk, and Haley had to run. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Here we go. This is why asexual people are always trying to headcanon other characters as ace, because we don't get enough asexual representation in the media, and then we end up doing the thing that Haley just mentioned about this person on Twitter, that all of a sudden we're trying to guess if Katniss is ace or not ace, because no one tries to give us an ace mainstream character. And this is also me trying to guess if Toph Beifong might be ace, because why not? I mean, I totally see her as ace because I don't have enough aces in my life, and that's why I try to put aces wherever there are not. And you see what I mean? We don't have enough asexual person. You see why I was waiting for Haley to leave. I was waiting because this was gonna be one of those moments where I just go and
Remember
go
to
and
breathe.
yeah. But it is true. I mean, Disney princesses. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Everybody gets paired up, and then Merida came out, and I was like, yeah, that's the ace princess. Finally, I have one. And it's like, nope, that she's not ace. But here I am making it ace because we don't have enough representation for asexuals in the media. And again, this is why I don't like the queer lit as like the one umbrella where you put everything under. No, this is what happens because now we are guessing which of these popular characters is ace or not. This is why Dahl, as a writer, hints and teases the romantic cookie for the reader to, ooh, they're gonna get together. Nope. That's why I do it to you too.
Well, isn't what's her name who became, a Disney queen? Isn't she ace?
Which one are we talking about?
Elsa.
Elsa.
Yeah.
Elsa.
No, she's
Oh
not
yes, that's right. Yeah, I think that they are talking about that she may actually be ace.
But again, it's not confirmed.
No, I know, and it's like, yeah, we'll see. Disney.
But also,
Whatever.
it's like made that way because she can't touch anybody without like freezing
Right.
them.
I thought she'd hugged Anna several times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
but
can
she
hug
loves
Anna no
Anna.
problem. She's hugged several. It's just more of it, helps her be a little bit easier when she gets emotional.
Yeah, it's when
But
she gets
no,
emotional.
she just doesn't look. But she doesn't look at a single character, male or female, in either movie, in any way other than, all right, how can you serve the kingdom?
Right.
Her priorities are different though because she wants to keep everyone away from her because of all of the icy powers and stuff. So she's not even like in that mindset to consider.
That doesn't really help. Yeah. That doesn't really help. The only moment where I saw my A self coming out in a Disney movie was, and I'll be shooting from my own hand. That was it.
Well, go speak to me after this, darling. We can talk ace characters, and maybe I can get some more info on how to properly write an ace character.
Oh yeah, no, we can totally swap because we're both writing ace characters in sci-fi, so definitely we can swap.
Awesome.
Sounds good. You're doing cyberpunk, and I'm doing whatever that nonsense is.
But it sounds interesting.
But yeah, definitely. But that's when Haley brought up the person trying to figure out if Katniss is ace. It just came back to me that this is something that a lot of queer people have been doing for a long time. It's like trying to queer a character that is not confirmed to be, but we are all desperately trying to see if that character would fit in the queer spectrum because we never got enough. Now, like Haley said, it's getting better. So I don't have that much access to books. I have some access now, and that's thanks to my community because otherwise I wouldn't be able to read anything at all. So thank you for the support, and I will always say it. But that's what happens when you don't see some things regularly represented and like easy to find, like in big movies and stuff. Then that's what happens. People are going to start trying to guess if this character might be fitting for my we try so hard to see ourselves in a character, even if it's not confirmed. And this is why fan fiction is a thing, That's why, But it is a thing. It is a thing. A solution for this problem. I mean, apart from just having fun with characters and do whatever we want to do as our imagination runs wild, a solution might be just to somehow remember that there is real diversity out there. Like for real, like just be genuine about the characters you're writing, and if you don't know how to go about it, ask someone. Simple. Very simple. I don't know.
I think having plenty of alpha and beta readers is helpful because some of that feedback I've received have been like, what about, this character which seems, you have a character that seems a little vague. What about if you did this? This seems like this is that kind of person. And getting that kind of feedback has been helpful for essentially diversifying my characters even more than I already was doing. And yes, I am the kind of person many, many years ago really did pull out dice and be like, all right, I'm going to roll and see what kind of characters I get for this story. I'm just going to roll. All the
I have done
backgrounds have a number attached to it, and we will see. And yes, I got some really wild, fun, exciting, very diverse characters. And I just did that when I felt unsure of how to do it in a more methodical, planned out way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad way, it's just a random way. But like, it just, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. That's just really the bottom line, is go out there and fail hard. Okay. Because we learn so much more from our failures than we learn from our successes. So much of the time I see among my fellow writers a desire to get it right, to get it perfect. And these things are fallacies in the first place. There's no perfect and there's no just right. There is right now. So when I write, I do not write with the idea of I have to get it perfect. It's more of, well, let me go out there and fail hard so I can get that over with. As if I ever stop failing. But it kind of takes that, for me, it takes that barrier, that mental barrier of that perfectionism in the back of my head out of the way. Because if I'm going out to fail, then I can't be perfect. And then what I write can't be perfect either. So it already takes perfectionism off the table.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what Kat said is what my character is like. He's
Honestly,
ace,
I would
but
say
is into
perfection
romantic relationships.
I would honestly say perfection is a deception, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's a red
also
herring.
would recommend A-Stat Advice.
On TikTok, yeah.
He also has a YouTube channel.
Oh, he does?
Mm-hmm. And he does a video on how do I know I'm asexual, Ace Camp, and I found it very interesting, very helpful, and just like generally, I mean, if anyone is questioning, I think it's a great resource. But also, if you're looking to create more diverse characters, it gives a lot of options and helps people to understand the spectrum a bit more, because that's something else that people forget very often, is that it's a spectrum. It's not a fixed point in one specific extremity.
Like the pitch black blind characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, shall we about wrap up with final thoughts?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any final thoughts? Or do you feel like you've gotten everything off your chest that you have to get off your chest?
Well, my usual final thoughts would be to those who are already doing the thing, of those who are already wanting to do the work and who are working hard on like diversifying their literature and doing it because they genuinely feel it instead of it because it's a trend. Well, thank you. Because like we need people like you to continue to expand on literature. So thank you for what you do. That will be like when we feel like when minority people gather and we discuss this kind of thing, we can get on a rant, and I'm one of the first, so I'm calling myself out, but I also try to bring in the gratitude because it is not all bad, and there are people out there, maybe not in the big publishing houses, but there are people out there working hard so things get better for everyone, genuinely. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I think I didn't mention this before, but I think we're having these kinds of conversations. I'm sure there are agents out there who are also interested in having these kinds of conversations. So I would say holding firm to the truth of your characters and looking for that kind of representation that accurately understands diverse characters, and being consistent about writing diverse characters and keeping diverse characters in your book. And as Glory said, not just one, so that if you make one of your diverse characters the villain, it's not there's a villain because but rather they're the villain and also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think also to, like I've said it a lot already, but yeah, make sure that your character's not defined solely by what their orientation is. They are a person first, and then only mention it if it's relevant. If it comes up, it comes up. If it doesn't, that's fine. Don't just hang a lantern on it and make it a big, massive focus that doesn't fit with the story or the character. Like, these are people, these are characters too, you know. Yeah, treat them as such.
Yeah, I guess if I have a final thought, it is simply you just keep plugging away. Keep doing it. Keep it up and do not worry about doing it right or messing it up. That is what your colleagues are for, to help you as best they can as well. And, obviously keep making more writer friends.
I thought that you were saying your colleagues are the ones to mess it up.
We are all to mess it up. Let me be brutally honest here. Why, yes, I come for all of you.
I think that's called dividing the blame.
We're all screw-ups, and we screw up all the time. And frankly, I think it's one of the things that makes us the most interesting and charming. And also, those are the reasons we have battle scars. And I want to hear all the stories behind all the battle scars. Because every one of these battle scars every one of us has makes us better writers. The life you've already lived, the fact that you have made your way here beyond the Goblin City, that is why I want to know you. That is why I want to read what you have to write, and I want to hear your thoughts. It's because you have been there in the world. You got dirty and you got wounded, and then you came back for more. That is what makes you a talented writer, is that persistence. And that is what will make your writing even better. So keep getting in there and do not worry about doing it right. Worry about not doing more of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know I said I was done, but I just, Maggie's comment made me think about this. Sexual orientation is a character trait, not the sum of the character. And stereotypes being perpetuated that way. I would say you also see that in example from writers who always write characters who love books. And I'm so over that trope as well.
Oh, y'all, that is like literally a book lover is the worst reason to hire someone to be a librarian.
Oh, well.
Do you know how it is the number one reason people hire librarians? Why do you want to be a librarian at our library? They always answer, it's because I love books. And it's like, that's the wrong answer, dumbass. The right answer is I want to help people find information. And but all the people who work at libraries are terrible at hiring people. So again, that is how you know they're a bad librarian. It's because they love books. No, you should be loving people. Get off my grass. So
I feel like if you actually do love books, you'll be in the library with your feet on the desk reading a book and be like, yeah, the book's that way.
No, right. My favorite trope that writers do, especially Silver Age, and they are unabashed about it, is how many different ways do you have to try to find an alien form of coffee? There must always be coffee, though, for every character.
Yes.
That's how you know.
Yep. Do you not have coffee in your world, Amy?
I don't have coffee.
I think you need to fix that, like, at least during
someone. I can picture at least a couple of my characters of heavy coffee drinkers.
You need a beverage for sure.
So,
oh, yeah. I mean, there's booze. There's a lot of booze.
That's a downer, and you did an upper. Like,
that's true.
The world of humans, right?
Because I'm writing historical fiction, I can have both tea and coffee. Also gin.
Yes.
And
a little bit of party cocaine.
It's true. Like, I know the era that Chandra's writing it, that did have party cocaine back then, as well as party opium.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a definite.
Good old party laudanum.
Yeah. I did like how they included that in Deadwood.
Yeah.
But I think if you're actually working on character development, then you won't just have your lesbian who bakes and your gay male character who is
Walks with a swagger.
and the fashionista of your story, and all these very simplistic analyses.
Although, frankly, there is nothing wrong with being the makeover friend who's happy to give anyone a makeover. There's nothing wrong with that. You can,
Although I will say, oddly,
like in real life too, you could just be that friend.
I will say, oddly, because we were talking about this before the show started, but I was thinking about it since one of my accounts on YouTube, like they just keep going, have you watched this music video though? And Lil Nas X has actually been good in across all these different music videos of not having a stereotyped form of gay male interaction, and instead, it's just shooting the a rainbow of varieties of everything's valid.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're going to get in each video.
I mean, have you lived till you've had a gay man look at your hair and go, thank you for letting me play with this. All right, clear your schedule for the next 2 hours. I need to be with your hair. And I'm like, I feel loved right now. I need
and there's me like, please help me.
Like, look, it doesn't have to be gay and it doesn't have to be male, but sure feels valid, okay? Like,
and I think that's important, but I also think it's important to show writers writing characters who love books, fine, but have a character with a different hobby. Have your character have hobbies, so that when you do write a diverse character, they don't come off as the flat, stereotypical, token diverse character.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have hobbies that support the story, aside from like in a series of unfortunate events, how each of the kids has their very specific thing, and although they all know how to read and do enjoy books, it's most especially Klaus's thing.
Yes.
And he's the almost librarian of the group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Violet does like books, she's very much the tinkerer, inventor.
Mm-hmm.
And both of their hobbies support the story in different ways.
Yeah, as well as keep in mind, it's pretty accurate with characters. The older they are, the more special interest and hobbies they will have acquired.
Mm-hmm.
So children have only usually 1 to 2 hobbies or special interests because they are still very young. But people in their 20s usually have picked up at least 1 to 2 extra. People by the time they're 50s are gonna have anywhere between 3 and 6 special interests / hobbies, depending on how many children they have. Because if you have a whole bunch of children, you don't really have time to develop extra hobbies and interests unless their special interest is I can change a diaper in like literally 10 seconds. Watch me. Like that can be a special skill.
That's my special skill.
Yeah, it's like
pretty cool.
Sure,
like,
characters
honestly,
can like books.
That's cool.
Because
like, the older they get, the more they develop.
I'm following that. I'm falling into that idea that one of my characters likes books and writing, but I also gave her a reason. Like, what else is she gonna do? There's not much else she can do. So that's in that case. That's the excuse. However, she has many other interests, even though she cannot do them because a blind kid in Peru, astronomy not happening. You know what I mean? Like, okay, there are reasons why she's like, okay,
sculpting, with 3-dimensional. Look, I used to sculpt out of mashed potatoes, and it felt satisfying to then eat the things.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And I like to use my fingers. My mother was just like, as long as you don't do it in public, I will get off your back. And I mean, I was like 4. And I was like, fair deal. Okay, I promise not to do it in restaurants. And then she would sometimes see my hands sneaking up at restaurants. She's like, you promise. And I was like, that's right. So I would then do it with a spoon. I would just sculpt the stuffing or whatever. And then, because I like to make things. So I'd make little houses. I would, there are things you can do that to other people it might. Again, I want to talk about like the small hours, the little hours,
the little hours.
The little things people do. When I was a kid, we couldn't afford art supplies growing up. So I used to light matches, let them burn down, and then draw with them because that was the only charcoal I had access to. And I would sketch out all sorts of things. And when my father found out, he did not find out for years because officially I was forbidden to play with matches. And so I did it when my parents weren't around, so they couldn't tell. But my father eventually caught me when I was 13. So I'd been doing it for years at that point. And when he saw that, he's like, why didn't you ever tell me? I'm like, because you said we didn't have any money. So why am I going to bring it up again? No money is no money. And the man literally went around to everyone he knew asking if they had work till he could earn enough money to buy me, granted, a cheap set of charcoal pencils, but anything so that I would quit A, lighting matches, and B, he's like, this is just too sad. I can't. And I'm like, well, I wish we'd had this conversation years ago because I almost lit the house on fire by accident a couple times. And he's like, oh God, yeah. So like, imagine that kind of background for a character. It's about the small hours, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my brother and I did a similar thing with food. First of all, I want to point out to most people cut watermelon wrong, which is to cut it in half first. But you really need to cut it lengthwise because the watermelon is sweeter on one end than the other. So you need to cut it longwise. But we always did that. And then my brother and I would take, because it's got that bow shape, right? So we would carve our watermelon into ships.
Yes.
Before we would eat it.
And that sweetest part is right in the middle. Oh, God. We used to fight over who's going to get the heart of the watermelon.
and that was that was what we did. Whenever we ate watermelon, it would take us hours to eat it. Not hours, but a very long time to eat it. And we had to do it with a knife and fork because you would, poke holes. You had to make your windows. You had to try to hollow out the inside without breaking the top off. It was a very, very competitive sport.
Yep.
And granted, we were pretty young when we did this, but giving your characters these quirky things that maybe nobody else does or has thought of, it does create that base. And even if they don't do the hobby throughout the whole story, they lose interest in it. They still have the history with the hobby that you can call upon in different scenarios.
Yep.
And it gives them more depth.
You would not believe how many of my childhood skills have come in handy as a teacher, as a librarian, as a business owner. And just sometimes when my friends needed help with something and I'm like, well, I actually happen to have that skill. But it has to do with my background. You can make any character like that where, it's like, well, I happen to have this special skill. It's like, where did you get this special skill? Well, when I was a kid, it's very similar, whether we're talking about sculpting, we're talking about drawing. I used to draw with little burned out matches because we were that poor. Like, you can just whatever, you can do that. And again, you have 3-dimensional characters.
Yeah, it's like,
there's more than just liking books. That I agree.
Oh, yeah. Like, I've got a character who he's very much more of a mercenary and he grew up really poor on the streets kind of thing, right? But one of his special skills is he knows how to fix his own gear. He knows how to do hand sewing and things like that because that's skills that he had to learn as part of growing up and part of being self-sufficient, and that carries through with things as well. And he also enjoys it as well, taking care of his gear because it's something that is special to him.
Have him complain about someone else just doing a running stitch. You're asking for double in the field.
I don't think he'd let anyone touch his outfit at all.
No, not him. Have him see someone else just trying to
somebody
stitch
else.
up.
He's like, look at that butcher. They butchered that. They butchered it. Look at that.
That's really shoddy work.
Oh, that would be so good. I'm writing that down.
So, and Maggie said, she used to, weave pine needles into bracelets as a kid. I remember we used to do that too. And there were some kids who were really good at it. Look, all of these skills can translate to adult skills later. And when asked, oh, how did you learn this? Like, oh, well, I used to do this thing as a kid. All of these things enrich your characters and feel authentic for your character's background rather than, oh, I just happened to spring from the earth fully formed and totally able to do all these cool, awesome tricks that a human normally wouldn't be able to. No.
And for me,
It's all
because I
built
write
in skill sets.
historical fiction, I think the go-to hobby for historical fiction is, well, there's no TV, so your character must read. There are people who did not like to read books the way in the way back when. And the things that they like to do, music, dancing, gardening was a thing, needlepoint. There's characters who hate needlepoint.
Snipe
Look
hunting.
at Arya Stark. She absolutely loathed needlepoint, and she was terrible at it because she didn't enjoy it. And that was a fun moment for all of us. But if without that, not that we wouldn't have known she was a tomboy, but we wouldn't have known the extent of it. We wouldn't have seen her develop into and take up the new hobby of wanting to learn how to fight with a sword, not because she was good at it, because she was good with a bow to begin with, but she was pretty terrible with a sword to begin with. But we knew that she had that desire and would rather be doing anything else aside from needlepoint. And it wasn't because her interest was in books and reading. So we do have that character who loves books, but creating that, realizing whatever time period you're in, there are other things to do.
Right. There you go.
There is always like weird and random stuff, including in the future.
I mean, look at the games in historical fiction. There's tons of games that people could play. Maybe I don't understand them yet. Maybe I don't know what they are. But I have a character who is different because she, in a time where people didn't wear pants, or women didn't wear pants, she wears pants. She likes to go hunting and fishing with her brothers. She rides. She doesn't want to like sit at home and read. She doesn't want to be knitting. She's not a proper lady, and that's important. But also, another example in Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth loves long walks to the point where people are commenting about her hems being dirty because she walks so much in gross weather and poor walking conditions, but she enjoys it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have this one weird knowledge, and I have to share it. Just bear with me. Okay, so y'all know that knitting is way older than crochet, but crochet really came about, like popularity-wise, in the late 1700s, early 1800s. Specifically, it became known for lace, crochet lace, that very rich people would pay for. And that meant that for a while, Ireland was producing incredible amounts of very fine crochet lace. Who was doing the lace, you may wonder, or maybe you didn't wonder, and I'm going to tell you why you should wonder. So how did they crochet back then? Because crochet was really new. It was a needle stabbed into a piece of cork, bent. The needle was bent, so it'd have a hook. So imagine you're holding like a tiny little hook for like, I don't know, a guinea pig. If a guinea pig had a hook hand, you're holding the hook and you're making this little crochet lace. Who was doing it? 80 to 90% of the crocheters at the time were men.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so lucrative that a whole bunch of burly little Irishmen, and maybe tall ones too, sat down and started making literally miles and miles of lace every month and shipping it mostly to France and Italy. And that was good career for about 28 years. It was all these men sitting down in the kitchen crocheting while their wives did all the cooking and cleaning and all the normal wifely things, apparently. Eventually, they got children to start doing it too, because it was such a lucrative thing. But I still think about, every time I crochet, I think about all of these men with these big old calluses from digging ditches and fishing and all these things, sitting down by the fire to crochet miles and miles and miles of lace out of the finest silk and cotton and linen. And that was how crochet got its start. So it then became then children started doing it. Women were the last to pick up crochet because women were busy, y'all. Those stoves do not scrub themselves. I'm just saying. And so that's like a little thing of people used to crochet with bent needle hooks. And it was men who started crocheting first because it was so lucrative. And because women were like, we don't have time to do it. And men were like, oh, I don't have to go out fishing. I'd rather crochet indoors. So that's just something to think about. Like, skills are fascinating, aren't they? And where they get their starts and what people do. But yeah, seriously, men in the wintertime, they're like, you have to give me something to do. I mean, if you're not carving out a church, then you're crocheting literally miles and miles of like. I think they said they were able to one year fill an entire ship full of just crochet lace and go to the port in Paris.
What I mean, also woodworking, whittling, running a print shop, being interested in printing, making paper, all of these things are useful skills that make great hobbies that can also make your character money in different time periods. But we think about how long paper has been around.
Block printing,
pens. Those were all things that people needed and had to be made. There's just so many options as far as hobbies. There's plenty of diversity you can create in your diverse cast to give depth
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and not make these characters so that their thing is something stereotypical or that they're already diverse, so that's enough for today.
I'm familiar, Maggie.
Yeah, Tom and I used to make paper when we were kids, again, for fun, since we didn't have any money. So you can make paper out of rags, cellulose. You can honestly make paper out of a lot of things you find outside. At least in Mississippi, you can. So we used to make paper as kids, and we'd boil it and everything, and then I would draw with my little burnt out matches. Like, I knew how ridiculous it was.
I have one more hobby that's terrible. What excellent boiled potatoes. I sometimes, in the evenings, upon my free time, like to compose these delicate phrases, which are most complimentary to the ladies.
Are you talking about limericks?
No. What's his name from Pride and Prejudice? Cousin.
Oh God.
Colin.
It shows you that Milady is not a nude.
No, Milady Man has always been with us, y'all.
And
he wears a fedora now, but he was always around in every generation. Milady Man is here with us.
And the whole sitting down to take time to come up with compliments to give people and giving them as unstudied an air as possible. That was his hobby.
Yeah, that was his hobby. Oh God, he was so cringy, and I know. Yeah.
I love how cringy it was.
But I mean, have you met young men? Yeah, that checks. So
that's all.
And even some young women. Anyway, I will tell a story backstage about that later. Anyway, so I feel like Tom, did you have any more final thought? You good or no?
I'm good.
Tom's like, I am done. Would anyone like to do an outro? Again, they are totally optional.
I've done enough.
Who? I don't know. If you all talk at once, I can't hear it. I'm so sorry. Who wants to go first? How dare you leave me in this hot seat? How dare you?
Okay, I'll go first.
I like Chandra's like, I have no face anymore, so sorry.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I am Dal Cecil-Runo, a blind storyteller for introspective readers. I write mostly sci-fi, and in my short stories, I do whatever the crap I want. I also do poetry, and I'm working on improving my YouTube channel for 2022. That's my Nano Rebel project. I'm working on video scripts for 2022, so my channel is coming back real soon. And meantime, you can find some of my short stories available on YouTube, and some of the newer shorts are available on Ko-fi or Patreon. You can choose whichever works better for you. Thank you so much for having me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, doll. Okay, did anyone else write? Because I wasn't trying to actually bully people to doing outros. I was just I thought someone had said something and now you're saying nothing. Is that you, Amy? Are you next?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. That's fine. All right. Well, I'm Amy. I'm currently writing a cyberpunk series, and I also stream on Twitch under Shiny Night. Yeah, you can find me there where I'll do writing sprints and gaming, and you can follow me on my Instagram and my Twitter for whenever I do updates on my novel that I'm currently working on. And of course, tuning into these streams, you get those little breadcrumbs that I like to drop occasionally as well. But thank you very much, Glory, for having me.
Thank you for coming, Amy. Did anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah, did anyone else? Chandra? No? Chandra's like, I hear nothing. I am not here.
I'm good.
You're good?
I started a whole, 20-minute tangent. I'm good.
You don't want to do an outro?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Tom, do you want to do an outro?
I'm good. I'm tired.
Okay. All right. So here we are. Hi, I'm Glory, and if you don't realize it by this point, you have wandered onto my channel, Glory Writes the Blues. My links are down below, as are all these lovely folks and more. The ghost of Haley Haggerty is with us, and she is listed down below in the doobity-doobs as well. All these folks are amazing, and they are so talented, and they have amazing minds, and quite frankly, you're just very fortunate that you can even follow them on social media just to hear the little brain droppings, quite honestly. So I just want you to know these people are amazeballs, and, you should totally know all about them in a fun sort of way. So what? Yes, I do. Okay, so yeah, Twitch is mostly where I stream now because, I can make ad revenue and stuff and pay for my medicine. Actually, that is what I do with my Twitch money, and YouTube has yet to pay me. So,
very soon though.
One hope.
Follow.
I'm
trying. So close.
I'm trying. So Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, we stream on Twitch on, again, the same channel name, Glory Writes the Blues, where we essentially pre-game talk about the next Monday show on YouTube. That's where we go over our process, and we do it in real time. That's what Tom and I do. And then after that, we sometimes play a game. And specifically, people have been gifting me Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together. So that's what it looks like I'll be doing for the rest of November anyway, after our, our live stream pregame kind of setup show. That's what we do. Thursdays on Twitch, Cat Leo Writing and I do Coffee Bunny Cafe, and everybody is welcome to join us, and everybody is welcome to join us on stage, on screen as well. It's chill through the whole month of November. We are also doing sprints during Coffee Bunny so that our nano friends can still get things done. And it's super fun, and you should all totally join us. And that's the things. Okay, so next week, same bat time, same bat channel, we are going to talk about middle grade and YA as genre. And I'm sure it's going to be wild. I feel pretty confident about this. I have my own opinions. Everybody else who I see is coming has their own opinions. It's a whole opinion-packed lineup. It's going to be great. I hope you will come. There are issues with middle grade and YA changing as a genre. YA is essentially not selling as well as it used to. And part of that has to do with publishers not changing with the interest of the readership. Because what Gen Z wants, what the young people these days want in books is not the same thing millennials wanted 10, 15, 20 years ago. And publishing has not changed to suit that. So sales have gone down. So we're going to talk about how you can be sure that you're not part of a dying art, because we want you to have all the success. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. And I think that's everything. The after party will be in our Discord server, Unicorn Council server, in the voice chat clubhouse. If you would like to join us, we definitely would love to hang out with everybody. So we will see you there, hopefully. So yeah. Did I forget anything? Nope, we're all good. Everybody's all talked out. I am the talky one among the introverts. Yes. Thank you. I feel it deep in my soul. So without further ado, I'm going to click the button and say goodbye, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.